Welcome to my world. I'm your host, Kevin Rutherford. It is Monday, September 25th. We are here live. It is a free-for-all for this first half hour. We do have some guests joining us at the bottom of the hour. I'll tell you about that. Jump in and join me. I've got some things I'll talk about here at the open, but we can get some calls in. Then we'll talk to some guests, and then we'll get back to some calls and answer all your questions. So anything goes today. If you have a question, a comment, a topic, jump in and join us. 855-950-3835. We have been struggling with internet issues. Hopefully everything's all right now. On Friday, I just had no internet whatsoever. We couldn't do anything. I could text and do some other things on the phone, but there was no way I can run a show just off the internet from the phone. So we weren't able to do the show on Friday. Last night, we had our internet drop out again completely. We seem to be okay right now. Morgan, our call screener, had some issues connecting. It just seems to me like we have worse internet now than we had 10 years ago. And I just don't get it. Although our entire society seems to be falling apart. Customer service anymore is just awful. The quality of things is deteriorating. We have shortages. It's just not a good time for our country, really. I don't want to go too deep down that rabbit hole. But the technology thing, so normally I would have, Starlink as the backup, but the Starlink is down in the shop right now getting installed on the coach. So I have ordered another Starlink as a backup, just in case. And we may find that we just run the show on Starlink if it's more stable anyway. We'll see. Couple things I wanted to talk about. Let me get over to this one. This one shocked me a little bit. Listen to this. Tow company owner sentenced to federal prison for diesel emissions tampering. So this towing company, it doesn't tell us how many. It does say more than one tow truck. What the emissions were tampered with. They used a company that does this kind of tuning, flashing kind of stuff. There's not a lot of details on what the delete was, but he was deleting the emission systems on his tow trucks. They did give him a ticket at one point, and he kept doing it. And I know why he kept doing it, because once you delete these things, it's really expensive to put them back the way they're supposed to be, depending on how extensive the delete was. But 2 years in federal prison with no parole, plus $255,000 worth of fines. Look, crime right now in this country is rampant, and we let people off. I was watching OP Live over the weekend, and one of the guys they pulled over he mentioned that he had spent 10 years in prison. When they asked him what for, he said murder. He's out on the streets. 10 years for murder, and you're out. 2 years, no parole for deleting an emission system. We let drug users off, and we should, by the way. We shouldn't be putting a bunch of drug users in jail. Doesn't work. We know that. But shoplifters, it's a revolving door. We're not putting criminals in prison, but we're going to send somebody who deleted their emission systems to federal prison plus $255,000 in fines. That seems a little crazy to me. Speaking of internet issues, I do have two accounts here in the house, but they're from the same company, so it's not like one's a backup. Usually if one goes out, the other one goes out as well. We just use it because it gives us double the amount of bandwidth, and we have a lot going on here with the show and everything else we do working from home. But I just happened to look over, and one of my systems is down. And that's a little odd because, like I said, it comes from the same company. But my router's flashing at me. As far as I can tell, I'm still on the air, though. So we'll we'll keep going here. I thought that was just insane, and it should make you think twice about deleting trucks. Really. I mean, we've been saying for over a decade now, stop deleting. Yes, there was a year or two where we were saying it's probably the only way you can fix these things. That was back in like 08, 09. It was a long time ago. We now know how to maintain and spec these trucks, and we know what products help, and we've come a long, long way. It is not worth deleting anything anymore, especially if they are starting criminal prosecution now. That's kind of crazy. Here's another one. This one, more government interference into business. Before I do that, I had another story. I don't even know if I have the details up here or not. I think I do somewhere. Let me see if I can find it. So last week, I almost announced this last week because I was announcing these as I saw them, and then I thought, I'm just not going to bother anymore. The Fed seemed to be deleting a lot of ELDs, disqualifying a lot of ELDs and taking them off the market. There have been several in the last year, and like I said, I was reporting on them for a while just so people knew. And then I stopped because there's been a bunch. Well, there was one last week, and I remember reading the headline, and I thought, I'm not going to bother. A week later, they reinstated it. But they're not even saying why they pulled it off the market last week or why they put it back on the market. But what a royal pain in the ass that must have been for a lot of companies that used that. Because a week ago, they're told you can't use this anymore. They have to scramble to find another solution. And now they're told, sorry, you can use it again. This is why we just have to stop asking the government to fix everything. They don't fix anything. They make things worse. This whole ELD fiasco. All right. What else did I have on my list here? The guest coming up. I talked about this story when it was written. There was a video made. There's two groups, and both of the groups are joining me today. One is called A More Perfect Union. They were the ones that made the video. And I want to find out from them what their mission or objectives are. And then the other group is called Truckers Movement for Justice. So we'll have a couple of guests on from that group as well. They wrote they did a video, and there was an article about the video, and I talked about it, about how prior to 1980, truck drivers and trucking companies made more money, and how now we don't, because of the Motor Carrier Act of 1980. So we're just going to find out from them what they think needs to happen to fix whatever they think is wrong. So we will see. Obviously, you know how I feel about this issue. I'm going to let them know. We'll see what they're shooting for. All right, one more article, and then I'll get to some calls. So if you want to jump in, I had a call. It's gone. I wonder what happened. If you want to jump in, 855-950-3835. Again, more government intervention into business where it doesn't belong. There was a trucking company that was going to hire somebody, and based on some of the answers on the questionnaire, they decided not to. Now, the mistake this company made was explaining to somebody why they didn't hire them. They're what's the department that hires people? I can't think. It'll come to me. Anyway, whoever runs that department in this company should be fired. You don't ever tell somebody why you're not hiring them. It's a really bad idea. Just don't hire them. If they ask why, just say, we don't disclose that data. But don't give them a reason why you didn't hire them, because they will turn around and use that reason to sue you. And that's what they're doing in this case. So I not only would I have done the same thing, I have done the same thing. They saw in his questionnaire, his application, about how he has suffered from back pain. If I know somebody has suffered pain over the years that has stopped them from working, I will not hire them. Two things. It's going to be a problem because I'm going to have an employee out with pain or back issues, and workers' comp can break you. I wouldn't hire people like this either, but I would never, ever say that's why I didn't hire him, because you'll get sued over it. I just don't understand why I'm not allowed to run a business my way and hire people who I want to work for me. I shouldn't have to explain to anybody why I hired you or didn't hire you. I didn't like your attitude when you walked through the door. There's 1,000 reasons I might not hire somebody. That's part of running a good business, is understanding how to hire people and who not to hire. The business owner takes all the risk, and yet we're forced into taking more risk by the government. The problem with pain is you can never prove that somebody isn't in pain. So you hire them, they're going to slip and fall in their truck, and they're going to go out with back pain, and you will have them on workers' comp forever. And it will break you if you're not careful. But yet, this company's being sued by the federal government for not hiring this driver. All right. What else do I've got, let me see. I've got no calls. What's going on this morning? Are our phone lines working? Call me up just to make sure the phone lines are working. We've been having some technical issues. I did see a call up there a little bit ago. I don't know what happened to it. Jump in and join me. 855-950-3835. I can get a call or two in here before our guests come on. Our trip has changed a little bit again, and nothing is set in stone on this trip. I imagine it could change a couple more times. Mostly what's going on is that our fall schedule has gotten very crazy for a lot of reasons. This was going to be a long trip in the beginning. This is the trip starting off in Tennessee with the NASTC conference. I'm looking forward to that. David Owen is keeping me very busy. I'll be doing the keynote. I'll be doing a breakout. I'll be doing a driver awards ceremony with David, and I think I'm also going to be hosting a panel. And I told David, look, if I'm going to drive all the way there to do the keynote, the event's 3 days, keep me busy. If I just hang out at an event like this, I will end up talking to one person at a time all day long. If I'm going to do that, just put me up on stage, keep me busy. I can talk to everybody. So I'm looking forward to that. But the trip is probably now going to be much, much shorter. Like, it's probably just going to be me driving straight there and straight back. So probably just about 2 weeks total. We'll see. Could change again. Phones are lighting up. Calls are coming in, so our phone lines do work. You guys were just probably enthralled by me speaking. Let's go to Ohio. David, welcome.
Hello, Kevin. Are you there?
I am. What's on your mind today?
No, I just thought I'd chime in. I've been listening quite a long time. Appreciate all you do for us. But you made a comment. You weren't sure the lines were working, so I thought I'd see if it is. So.
All right. Well, thank you. Yeah, the internet's just, it's making me crazy. 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago, I figured out how to do the show from the road, and I just kept thinking, every year, the technology will get better. And it seems like it's actually gotten worse.
I agree. Yeah. I almost, when my house, I switched to T-Mobile, and it's horrible. It's always in and out, it seems like. But I sometimes wonder, in your case, if people aren't jamming you or something like that. I always wonder that.
I get a little paranoid about that sometimes, too. Yeah, I know. I certainly hope that's not what it is.
Who knows what they can do?
Yeah, but
yeah, exactly.
Everything about it. Well, we're really in a weird situation now. So the new property, as you start to head out of town up to that area, you lose cell signal completely, and that is understandable. You're heading into a national forest. I get it. The funny thing is,
Right.
when you get to our property, which is in the national forest, we get a 5G signal back, and it's actually pretty solid. It's not bad. It's on AT&T. It's very usable internet through the phone. So that's one option. And I'm going to put Starlink up out there. And we did the heavy-duty commercial version of Starlink. So I'm hoping that's going to be more dependable.
Right. Yeah, just while I got you, I thought about calling in before, but I usually listen to the show after it's recorded. For one of the reasons is because my internet goes in and out all the time, and then the show, when I'm trying to listen to it live, it's a pain in the ass getting it back on. And
yeah.
so I just found we got 6 more chickens this spring. You know, when you go to the farm store, you're taking a chance whether they're all hens or not. Well, sure enough, 3 of them are roosters and 3 of them were hens. So we're trying to get rid of rooster. And I was like, if I knew how to get it to you, I'd give it to you. So.
That seems to be the issue.
I'm in Ohio, so.
Yeah, it seems like roosters are disposable. Everybody's trying to get rid of roosters, but nobody's been close enough to me yet to make it worth it.
Yeah. I don't think I want to leave him hang out in a truck with me across the country. So
now, probably not.
They make a mess.
Yeah, they do.
So, well, I'll let you go. Let someone else get in.
All right. Thanks for the call. Looks like our phone lines are working. So if you want to join us, well, let me, actually, I'm going to, Morgan already did it for me. Thank you, Morgan. Let's go to South Carolina. Terrence, welcome to the program. Uh-oh. Terrence, are you there? Well, let's do this. Let's put Terrence back in the queue. Morgan, if you could check that line for me, I will try this one. We'll go to Kansas instead. Perry, welcome.
Hey, Kevin. How you doing this morning?
Good. You're there, so everything's working.
There we go. Hey, I got a question on the Cardio Miracle because of the vitamin D and the K2, and it tells you to take it 2 hours after a meal or 30 minutes before a meal. Is that an issue?
No.
If you're taking the collagen and different things with it?
It's really not. Look, each individual, if you notice some sort of an issue around when you take a supplement, maybe something weird happens, well, then move it. I mean, I see a lot of this stuff. I see these warnings, and yet I don't really see any of this stuff play out in the real world. I just don't see that being a problem. I never think at all about when I take my Cardio Miracle. I mean, I usually, at some point in the day, fill one up, and I've got a big, insulated mug, and I carry it around with me all day, and I sip on it. Some days I have a second one. Some days I don't. Some days the second one might be at 7 o'clock. It might be 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I don't pay attention. And there's nothing different. Nothing changes about the way I feel or the way it works. So, yeah, I wouldn't worry about it.
Okay. Yeah, my wife was... She's one of the sticklers on reading directions, and she was a little concerned about that.
Unfortunately,
right.
I'll just continue my rant about the government. This is the kind of crap we get because they warn us about everything. Every little possibility, and I swear they're worse with supplements. They're fine promoting and pushing drugs that one of the side effects is death. Those are side effects of drugs now. Death, cancer can be a side effect of a drug. Suicidal thoughts and actions. Those are side effects of drugs, and the FDA has no problem pushing those things. But boy, let a supplement give somebody indigestion, and the government's all over it.
Yeah, they've got their priorities a little messed up.
Yeah, they do.
We started the Cardio Miracle. My big problem, we eat very clean, and my big problem was I was hooked on Diet Coke, and every time I would get one, I would be like, I don't need this, but I just craved it.
Yeah, I know.
One day after taking the Cardio Miracle, I have not had a pop since.
Congratulations. That's excellent.
I don't know what it is. It took that craving away.
Good.
Of wanting that carbonation and everything. And I only take it once a day.
Okay,
My
good.
wife's taken it twice, but I take it once a day, and I started on collagen, and also bought a thermos, and I have a small batch of bone broth that I'm carrying in the truck with me.
You know, today is
use.
my first day of bone broth for the season. So I tend to not drink nearly as much bone broth in the summer because I have a hot coffee. Then I usually switch to something cold. Today was the first day after I finished my coffee. I made a cup of bone broth, and I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah. So it's been an interesting week now since we started.
Good.
Week and a half.
Yeah.
Since we started on it. So
Excellent.
It's going well. So. Well, that's all I've got. I appreciate it, and thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks for the call. Let's see if we've got Terrence now. Terrence, you with us?
Yeah, sorry about that. My headset dropped
There we
off.
go. There we go.
One thing, again, it's amazing to try. I reached out to another one. It was actually through somebody else, and they returned my call. I'm not going to say their name because of what it's about, but it's amazing, man. It really is. I'm glad that we, the people that they care, they care and look to help each other. That's the way it should be, man. That makes everything better. In my mind, it does,
I love that.
So I really didn't have that. I wanted the call was the phones were working, but you were just talking about bone broth. So my fiance's, had COVID last week. She finally went back to work. Was supposed to go work on Thursday. Got up in the morning, was sick, throwing up, same thing, basic COVID crap. And when I came home, she's like, I can't keep anything down. I said, why don't you just try some bone broth? So I gave her some of the chicken bone broth, and she was able to keep it down and felt fine. Next day, that Friday, I said, just relax. Don't if you can't hold anything down, make some more bone broth. So she had another cup, like around noonish, and it kept her because she was so sick. She wasn't even, and then she's a nurse. She knows it. She wasn't drinking,
right.
Wasn't eating anything because she was scared of throwing up. And she's like one of those ones that when she does throw up, it's like violent, and it's like, she actually cries when she thinking about she's going to get nauseous. It's just the way it's, her body is to it.
I can relate.
Knock anybody for that?
I can relate. I go through the same thing. I panic because severe nausea has put me in the hospital for days. I've talked about it before. So, I know that feeling, and it's not good.
No, not at all. So she was able to get through that. But what was weird, though, is like I said, now she went to work Saturday and Sunday, and she didn't work today. She had to do 3 in a row, unfortunately. But she's gotten better. Now, here we go again. Now, I'm starting to get diarrhea and all that crap now. So I don't know if it's waiting that long if I got... And I'm like, Kevin, I'm not even going to test. I'm not doing it. I don't give a crap if I have it. Nothing I can do.
I just saw in the paper they've released free COVID tests again. All you have to do is request one, and they're going to send it to you. I cannot believe they are wasting our money on COVID tests. Who cares?
Right.
You're sick. Deal with it. It doesn't matter if it's RSV, the flu, COVID, because we don't have anything to fix any of them anyway. So it's not like you can say, well, it's COVID, so do that. Do what? There's nothing you can do. It's a virus. You just got to wait it out and hope your immune system can beat it. So why are we wasting our money on tests? We have an employee out. And they've been violently ill, same thing, vomiting. Now, their doctor says, look, it's the flu. Just deal with it. It's the flu. It looks like it might be a bad flu season this year. But I also think there are an awful lot of people whose immune systems are now compromised.
Oh, yeah. I agree with you. All right, I'll let someone else get. Like I said, again, that's amazing to try. I'm so glad that I got to talk to the people I do around here and what they how cool they are. Good
Excellent. Thing. All right, good stuff. We are going to, I believe our guests are coming in right now. So I'm not going to take any calls because we're going to get our guests lined up here. I believe we have a couple we need to get done. Morgan, if you could, I know you got a lot going on, mark the lines for me so I know who's who. We are going to get to a discussion. We have 2 groups coming up. I'd like to get their take on what they think the solution is. Or, a lot of times I find with these groups, it's not that we disagree on the problem. This time we might, I'm not sure. It's more that we disagree with the solution. And I tend to be very strong on personal responsibility first. So that may be the theme today. We will see. After our guests, we will go back to open lines and a free-for-all. I'll stay here today till 11 my time, or until you run out of questions, whatever comes first. We are getting the guests lined up. Think we should be okay on phone lines. Hopefully our technology holds up today. It's got me worried. It's been, a lot of our stuff has been intermittent, and I think it all comes back to internet service. Just internet dropping out, being unstable. We don't have a lot of options here in the Gorge. So when we first moved here, we started with CenturyLink, which is a big company. The service they offered here was horrible. It was 10 megabits down and like 3 up. That is a real struggle for me to try to do anything. So we had a local company here that actually we paid to bring fiber to our warehouse and our house. We paid extra to get the fiber in because we really needed a solution, and they weren't bad. Small company, you got to deal with the same people all the time. There were some technical issues, but nothing too major. The last month or so, we've had more problems than ever, and I didn't know this, but it turns out they merged with some other company that I've never heard of either. And since then, the service has been awful. So we're hoping that Starlink works out better. It worked out really good for me on my last trip. And I'm thinking that in a fixed location, it's going to be even better. So we'll see. We are very, very dependent on technology to get this show out. All right. We're lining up one more guest, I think. Or maybe 2. I think we must have a bunch coming on. We'll, you know what? I'm going to start bringing them in. I am going to get back to all my notes here. I'm going to bring in Brooke Schumann first, the producer at More Perfect Union. Brooke, good morning. Welcome.
Hey, Kevin. Thanks so much for having me on.
Great to have you on. Before we get started, I kind of want to let you know so this doesn't sound like some ambush. The reason I brought you on was the story you did about trucking itself and some of the numbers. Yeah. So this year, I've probably covered maybe 5 of these, maybe more. And the theme that I keep seeing, and when I say 5 stories, it's like 5 stories of failure in small trucking companies or owner-operators. And every one of the stories seems to think that the system is the problem. And I really disagree with that. I don't know. Look, every industry, business, nothing's perfect. We certainly have problems in trucking, but I don't see any of those problems being the reason these people failed. And that most of these articles seem to blame the system. So I wanted to get your take on what you think is broken and what we could fix. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. And thank you so much for having me on. So my name's Brooke, and I'm a video producer for More Perfect Union. We're a pretty new news organization. We're a nonprofit, and we cover workers' rights and issues in labor. And I actually started this story because I was looking into surveillance.
And Brooke, I don't want to
surveillance on the job.
Go for it. I am known for interrupting, so just how I do things.
Sure.
If I don't interrupt when I have a thought, I'll forget it. So just bear with me. When you say workers' rights, I get that. Are we distinguishing between workers' rights and small businesses or independent contractors?
Yeah, this was a tricky thing in this story because part of what we looked at was the decline in unionization. And obviously, that's not going to be an option for owner-operators. Like, they're not going to be in the space where they're going to unionize.
Sometimes they are. It's not very common, but it does occur occasionally. And that's part of where I see a lot of the confusion coming in, is that they're written as though they're the same. I mean, those are two wildly different issues.
It's a big industry.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big industry with lots of different
Right.
types of workers. And, we wanted to look at the decline in unionization, but also, I guess, the rise in this organizing of like a bunch of different groups, because Billy's organization, who might be joining us briefly, they organize with both owner-operators and company drivers. So if they don't have a union to represent them, they have to make sure they're lobbying together. If they have complaints, whether it's parking or whether it's wages or whether it's overtime, they still are going to organize.
Got it. Okay. And I'll talk with Billy about that because, again, I want to be completely upfront about my motive. I think that's a huge mistake.
Yeah.
I've seen it done in the industry a lot, and are issues where I would be at polar opposites of an employee driver. I don't know how groups can advocate for both. The biggest association we have, OOIDA, tries to advocate for both. And I've said for years, it's a mistake. It's not working. I'll give you one example. Detention time. Big problem in the industry. Yep. You sit around, you're not getting paid for your time. I get it. As an employee driver, that's just wrong. I'd love to see a different pay system for employees. But when OOIDA went to the government and tried to force the shippers and receivers to pay that time, first off, completely, it just can't be enforced. It just doesn't even make sense. We have millions of shippers and receivers. There's nobody to enforce this. And so I'm not saying it shouldn't happen. I'm just not saying that's not the answer. There's got to be a better way than that. But the bigger problem, that shipper and receiver, if I'm an independent, they're my customer. I'll deal with them. I'll solve that problem. I do not want the government regulating my customers. That doesn't make any sense.
That's interesting because it depends how well the individual is able to, how much leverage they have, how much they're able to bargain with the shippers and receivers.
That's what.
Like the main thing that drew the story was, why is it that pay has gone down, across the industry?
Oh, can I ask about a number?
Drivers.
That I saw in the story. The 110,000 that an average driver made in 1980. That's been converted to today's dollars, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Because that's not what they were getting paid in 1980. Wasn't even close to that.
Right, and that's with inflation. Yeah.
Okay. Just so I know.
And that's the average. And so, today there are definitely truckers that are making that amount, but the average now is half that.
The average has gone up significantly in just the last 3 years, but so has everything else. So that's to be. I think it's probably time to bring the other guest in, right? So we can just all be talking.
Yeah, bring them on. Yeah. So like I was saying, we were looking at surveillance, but it led us to learning about Billy's organization. They sent us a flyer about an action they were having. So I went to that action and talked to truckers about, a wide variety of issues they were having.
Got it. All right. So I'm just going to bring people in the order I've got them. Billy Randall is up next. Billy, welcome.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing good. Tell us real quick about your organization and your role.
Truckers Movement for Justice is a grassroots rank and file organization composed of company drivers, owner-ops, and we include some small carriers as well across the country in various segments and all segments of the industry, from drayage to intermodal, oil field coal haulers, reefer drivers, just across the entire industry. I'm a truck driver for more than 30 years, and I'm also one of the organizers and co-founders of TMJ.
Got it.
I've got a lot of points to make on what you were saying, as well as what Brooke was saying.
Hold on. Let me bring
my turn.
Yeah, well, I'm going to come back to you.
More of my members.
Yeah. Let me bring the other two in, then I'll come back to you and give you plenty of time. So up next, we're bringing in Ryan Tyre. Ryan, welcome.
How are you doing today?
Good. Give us a quick introduction here. What's your role?
Sure. My name is Ryan Tyre, obviously. I've been driving since 2009. I've gone through company driver. I've been a carrier. I've been an owner-operator leased on. Right now, we pull containers out of the Port of Savannah, and seeing conditions kind of deteriorate kind of across the board.
Got it. All right. And finally, we're going to bring in Suzanne. Suzanne, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. Good. And an introduction in your role.
Okay, I'm an owner-operator in Savannah, Georgia. I've been driving for 25 years, and I got with Billy Randall. We talked for a few years, and we have a lot of problems that we need to address in the Savannah port and with other things that go on around Savannah as far as hauling containers. And Billy said that he would be willing to help me get some changes made, basically, for the drivers out there.
Good. Okay. So it does seem like we have a pretty strong emphasis on ports. And it's certainly part of trucking, but a very different segment. I've got a lot of experience with containers. Way back when I pulled some myself as an owner-operator. I help a lot of owner-operators that pull containers now. Definitely a different market. A lot of their own very specific issues. So I'm sure we'll be talking about those. Billy, I do want to come back to you because it sounded like you already had some things you wanted to comment on. So go ahead.
Most definitely. Let's see where we'll begin. Let's talk about OOIDA since you brought them up. OOIDA is nothing more than a mouthpiece for the American Trucking Association. OOIDA stands for over almost 60 years now as a quote, voice, unquote, for truck drivers. And yet, the issues regarding unpaid time, loading and unloading deadhead miles, as well as absence and total lack of enforcement of drivers' rights under the Motor Carrier Act of 1980, which harkened in deregulation and then subsequent re-regulation. OOIDA has not touched on any of those issues. Indeed, an issue that's so wide-ranging and so little spoken about, which Suzanne and Ryan can talk about specifically in their area, the lack of restroom is portal potties. We're talking about restrooms, proper restrooms where men and women drivers can sit, go to do their business, wash their hands, and so forth and so on, which is widespread across the country. TMJ called out toilets for truckers during Trucker Appreciation Week 2 years ago. We forced the Port of New York and New Jersey in 3 of the terminal operations to put proper restrooms in. Brother Ryan Johnson in the state of Washington single-handedly forced through 2 pieces of legislation, one requiring the ports to put in proper restroom facilities, and by that we mean the types of restroom facilities that are available at outdoor events and large-scale events, the trailer types, where there are multiple stalls and urinals, hot running water, paper towels, or air dryers, that sort of thing. He successfully did that 2 years ago, and yet a congressman and a congresswoman, respectively from Texas and Pennsylvania, have recently reintroduced a toilets for truckers bill into Congress, which at this point I'm not familiar with where it stands in terms of the legislative process. What are we talking about here? Years ago, when I cut my teeth organizing among workers the toilets in the fields in California and across farm workers, now we're doing it for truck drivers. What the hell is going on in this country? Now,
there's
OOIDA.
Let me jump in real quick.
Hold on. Let me finish my thought on OOIDA. There have been a number of lawsuits filed by truck drivers across the country in the last 25 years on misclassification issues. No one has touched the biggest issue that faces owner-operators and, to a lesser extent, company drivers, the issue of the shipper's bill of freight, which is our right to see and negotiate based upon. I'm a negotiator. I go into a negotiation with a company, all right, over benefits and wages for workers. The first thing I want is the company's financials. Not so I can take their profit, so I can reasonably and intelligently come to my membership and say to them, this is what's on the table. This is what it looks like we might be able to achieve through negotiation.
Let me jump in on that point. How do you force a private business to give you their financials if they're not publicly traded?
Any company that's engaged in a business or a negotiated transaction is required by law.
That's not true.
To produce financials.
Are you talking about freight bills?
I've been in this for more than 50 years. Freight bills are required by law to be produced by both carriers and freight brokers.
On a percentage contract. Carriers do not have to show that on a mileage contract. No, carriers do not have to show that on a mileage contract. No, okay. We're not going to argue about the details.
I'm going to disagree with you.
Well,
I'm not going to argue about the truth of that because that issue is questioned. All right. Freight brokers, shippers must show the freight bill to an owner-operator or a carrier upon request.
Except it doesn't work.
It's as simple as that.
Doesn't work. It's been in existence for 50 years. Who's going to enforce it?
You're given the right when it's to a carrier, all right, to enforce it as an individual party or else as an entity, labor organization or otherwise. It has not been done. All right.
Correct. In 50 years. Why not?
For the federal government.
Why not?
Hold on. Because there's no organization of truck drivers, sir. When we were organized back in the days before deregulation, when 500,000 drivers were covered, owner-ops and company, under the National Master Freight Agreement by the Teamsters and industry, all right, owner-ops were paid correctly. Company drivers.
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
Owner operators were paid correctly? They're a small business. What does correctly mean? Correctly is anything they negotiate. That's all it is. That's why you can't. That's why I completely disagree with trying to lump employees in with owner operators on these issues. Two totally different worlds.
Perhaps in the, how should we put it? In the ideal situation, an owner-op would be a small business person.
No, they
How
are.
many owner-ops
They
do you
are.
know that have direct? No, they're not.
Why not?
No, they're not. That's where the
Explain to me why.
misclassification comes in.
Who's being
How can an
misclassified?
owner-operator be-
If I own the truck, I
How
own the
can-
business.
You're cutting me off, and I'm trying to say something to answer your question. So let me talk, just like I'm giving you a chance to talk. How is an owner-operator a small business entity when they don't bill anybody?
Well, of
When
course they do.
receive a settlement weekly.
Are you talking
Who
lease
are
to
they
a
billing?
carrier? Because we have to separate that now. If I have my
that's the
authority, I have to
majority of
invoice
owner-ops.
somebody. But what does an invoice
You
matter?
do.
Who cares if I actually gave them a piece of paper and then they paid me, or they just produced the paper and pay me? What's the difference? A settlement is an invoice.
The settlement is not an invoice.
Sure
it's
it
a
is.
payment.
Same
All right.
thing.
And if I
So
bill
I
a
could
direct
send them
shipper-
a bill. Then why don't owner operators negotiate this? Because they are a business. If the carrier won't let you invoice them, then don't work for that carrier. You're a
Some
business.
owner-operators don't have a choice.
Everybody
don't have
has
a
a choice. Tell me somebody that doesn't have a
No,
choice.
that's not correct.
How?
In this, if I negotiate a load with a freight broker and the freight brokers carry a packet, which has to be signed before you can pull freight for them, indicates that I waive my rights to request a copy of the shipper's bill of freight and detention.
How many
which
brokers
many of those
exist?
contracts do. How many brokers? I have no idea. Thousands.
Maybe you should know that. Yes, tens of thousands. So when you say I don't have a choice, that's wrong. I have a choice. There's tens of thousands. Now I have another choice. I don't have to use a freight broker. I can just go get the business myself.
That's right. I agree with you.
Okay, so where's the no choice? Where are these people that don't have a choice? Somebody put a gun to their head and made them sign this contract?
If you want to work, yes.
No, that's not true. I will bring you thousands of owner-operators who work
You're
every day without a broker.
And I can name tens of thousands work every day, if not more, through a broker.
That's their choice. That's their choice.
No, it's not.
Of
Not
course it
necessarily.
is.
This is an industry that is very easily manipulated by the players
Oh,
of the
please.
industry.
You're
And
going to
you
tell me
dispute that,
adult business
you are-
owners are being manipulated. Really?
Yes, I am.
Then maybe they should get out of business.
If I can just interrupt real quick.
Please,
if I can just
Brooke,
interrupt real quick,
yes.
I'd love to hear from the other two people. Yeah, I'd love to hear from those people that Billy brought on because I'm sure they have some things they wanted to say as well. I also think that just the overarching story that I got from Billy and also from some of the experts I talked to, including Steve Baselli and Karen Levy, was that there's just less leverage among truckers. Like there isn't the national organizing there once was.
Why
There isn't
should
the
there
level of
be?
government regulation.
We are, see, again, if you're talking
Well, I
about
think
drivers.
This is about leverage.
No, I know. But if we're talking about employee drivers, sure, organize. I'm all for it. We're talking about independent business owners. I have never once wanted to organize with my competitors. Not once. Not when I owned one truck, not when I owned 11 and had a brokerage. I did not want to organize. They're my competitors. I'll solve my own problems. That's what makes a free market work. So let's let the other two come in because I can keep going. Somebody jump in.
Go ahead, Ryan.
So I quickly, just in listening to some of this, I did want to make a distinction, and this is not a knock to anybody. And I've been through almost all of the facets in trucking. Obviously, I'm not a ship line. I've been dabbling in brokerage, but there is a distinction between owner-operators and carriers, right? So, and I'm not sure if maybe that was getting lost in translation. I know both of you know exactly what the distinction is.
Well, let me hold
but
on
in
because I
talking about
might
it,
not.
hear it.
I want to clarify something. One of the problems we always face in this industry is that we have terms that are not clearly defined and everybody uses them differently. So owner-operator, I've seen
100%.
used for all kinds of things. Technically, if you get your authority, we should refer to you as a carrier. That would be the more correct. But many times, if it's just one guy, one truck, we continue to refer to them as owner-operators because they are, right? They own the
And
truck,
that's
they own
what
the
I am.
business, they operate it. So whether you're leased to a carrier
And I agree.
or running on your own authority, yeah, there's differences, but not a lot. The stuff we're talking about, I don't distinguish between carriers and leased owner-operators.
Well, when it comes down to actual negotiation, there's a dramatic difference between carriers and owner-operators.
What
right?
negotiation?
So when somebody's an owner-operator and they're leased well, and I'll explain. So, and I'm not here to badger or argue or anything. I just want to have a conversation. But
Same with me.
the point is when you're an absolutely, and when you're an owner-operator leased onto a carrier, generally there is no negotiation. The rates are what the rates are, and that's it, right? So obviously, as a carrier,
Well,
you have the
no,
ability
I'm not going to let that statement go. I've negotiated many deals.
Sure. I've never experienced difference. I've never experienced difference as a
Well,
leased-on driver to
well,
a company. So that I don't know.
I've negotiated with carriers myself individually and had different contracts than the owner-operator right next to me. And I could bring on hundreds of owner-operators that have done the same thing.
You know, that may be different in the intermodal subsector of this business. As you pointed out in the beginning, this is it's a way different subsection of the entire industry, and they do things kind of, to their own tune, to their own beat.
And let me jump in, Ryan. I've been an owner-operator for 25 years, leased on to a carrier. You can't negotiate with you can move to another company, but if they say it's 75% of what the load pays, that's what, and you sign the contract, you can't negotiate. That's it. It's 75%.
We have to negotiate before you sign. And if you can't negotiate...
They don't negotiate.
Wait, you're talking
Not
about
with
one
container.
carrier. So you're right. Many carriers might not negotiate. They are private businesses. They have the right not to negotiate with you if they don't want to. Here's the deal. Sign it or don't. But I will promise you, these contracts do get negotiated. I've negotiated them.
Oh, absolutely. The contracts that for the people that they're pulling the freight for get negotiated and renegotiated. But I'm just saying, as an industry standard in Savannah, this subsector of the business, it is common knowledge and common workplace practice that there is no negotiation for a truck driver who wants to lease his truck on to a local carrier in this industry in the Savannah market.
Let's not call them truck
drivers. Other places.
They're business owners.
You're right. Let's call them owner-operators.
Right.
Owners. Absolutely.
Business owners may even take away some of the confusion of the owner-operator carrier thing. To me, they're both business owners and should be treated that way.
Absolutely. You both
very
they
different
both
from
have
employees.
To be, set up as a business.
Right.
Correct.
We have held the same risks.
Operating authority is obviously different. The monetary implications are different as well.
In my opinion, operating authority is obsolete. It should have gone away in 1980. There's no point in it anymore.
And why do you have that opinion? I don't disagree with you. I'm just curious.
Well, I've owned many other businesses. I work with lots of other businesses.
Sure.
I've never had to go to the federal government and ask them for permission to be in business, which is what authority is.
Oh, I agree.
Well, prior to deregulation, that made sense. It was necessary. You had to have that. After deregulation, it makes no sense. Why, if I want to go buy a lawnmower and walk across the street and start doing business, that's all I have to do. But why can't I buy a truck and go down the street and haul somebody's freight?
Because it's a cash cow, and you and I both know
What's a cash cow? Trucking?
Operating authority. Now,
hold on. What is no? Again, I'm not going to let you get away with this statement. What is the average profit margin in trucking?
Well, when we say average, are we talking about
across the board? Every truck.
I don't know about across the board.
Well, I'll tell you, it's about 9%. I'm an investor. I'm a certified financial planner. I would never buy trucking company stock. It's an awful business. It's not a cash cow. It's not even close. It's a horrible low margin business.
We weren't talking about the business in general. We're talking about regulation and why the government is asking you to do that, and why do you have to ask the government for permission? And the reason is because the government would like to make a piece every year on you asking again for the opportunity or the right to.
Which is my point. There's no purpose in it other than the government, and it should end.
Agreed, 100%. We're not deviating. We both agree. What I'm saying is it's a cash cow for the federal government for you to go beg them for the right to move this freight.
That's why I say it's obsolete and it should just go away.
For one plate, absolutely. For one plate.
You wish to go back to a Wild West.
To a what?
Which is what trucking has become since 1980. Wild West situation.
Can you name me any other industry that's regulated financially?
Hold on, let me finish. All right, with what I'm saying. All right. You're cutting each one of us off.
Please stop with the cutting off. That takes longer. We all cut each other off. Keep going. Don't keep telling me I'm doing it.
Yeah, well.
Trying to get to a point.
I'm going to keep telling you if you keep doing it. All right. And if you don't like it, you can just cut me off the program. I don't give a damn. All right. You invited us on, and we're ready to talk. We're ready to talk
then
about
talk. Make a point.
You want to know?
Move on.
Here's the point. Owner-operators across the industry in any segment, whether it's drayage, intermodal, reefer, any industry, do not have the ability to negotiate either with a carrier they're leased on to, with a carrier they're contracted to, or with a freight broker. Why? Because they are negotiating as an individual.
So what?
They're not negotiating as an organization.
Of course not.
And
nobody negotiates. Do you realize it's illegal to do that? Do you realize it's illegal to do what you just said?
All right. The only ones that are not organized in this industry are truck drivers, be they owner-ops, be they leased on.
That's because small businesses don't organize. Yes, that's why you have to separate.
That's why you have trade associations
employees
that lobby to protect your interests.
But they can't lobby on rates. It's
Which you
illegal.
sound like
It's
you're
illegal.
An apologist to.
No, I'm not an apologist.
It is not
I could care.
illegal.
Yes, it is. It's called collusion. Two
Collective
businesses
activity.
are not allowed to talk about
Collective-
rates.
Bullshit.
I go to the industry
Excuse
events
my
where they have
language for everyone.
they have to make it a point when you are at this trucking conference, two of you company owners cannot get together and talk about rates. If you do, it's collusion.
And you don't think that that's going on right now?
Of course it's going on, but it doesn't matter. But you just told me.
Oh, it doesn't matter that it's going on. The
So-
free fall in this industry has affected only one group of people.
You said
in
I
the
can't
industry.
negotiate with freight
It's
brokers. We negotiate with freight brokers
You
every
can't.
minute of, oh my God. We do it every minute of every day. Every time you pick up the phone and
Really?
you say, hey, I see you got this load on the board. How much do you want to pay for it? Here's my rate. Are you willing to pay my rate? No. Oh, I'm going to go find somebody who will. I'm a business. I set the rate, not the customer. So we negotiate
That's
every
different.
load.
That's different.
What?
That's different when you're an owner-operator leased to a carrier like I am.
Correct.
I can't negotiate. The company,
You can
Right.
if you had a company that would negotiate every load with you. There is no law that stops it from happening. I could go lease
Right,
my
but
truck
with
to a
containers in
carrier.
Savannah.
I could do it with containers too. I did it in the Port of Cleveland.
Okay, well, they don't do it in Savannah. They tell you
So
at the beginning,
move.
this is the rate that we're
They're
going to
individual private businesses that have every right to negotiate with you or not. Just like you have every right
And
to
they
pull
don't.
their freight or not. Here's something else.
You're in a
This idea
confined
of
area where the carriers that their driver like Suzanne or Ryan, I believe you said you have your own authority. All right. But in the case with Suzanne, where she's leased on to a carrier, she accepts the load or she doesn't get work.
and she
And
goes
this
somewhere
has
else to
been
get work.
The history.
But it doesn't
If
matter
you
where I
have
go
a
in Savannah because
Of course it matters.
Every company in Savannah has a set.
do you know how-
every company in Savannah has a set rate that they pay their lease drivers.
When
Their
I own
company-
trucks,
owner-operator-
When I own
owner
trucks,
operator.
I moved my business 3 times from Ohio to Jacksonville to Orlando to create a better situation for myself. That's what independent business owners do. They solve problems. You want to turn all business owners into employees.
No, I didn't say that. I just said the way it works around the Savannah area is that if you want to lease onto this particular company, they offer you a set rate that you get paid per load,
Which is
and
fine.
If you don't like it, you can go to another one. But
Or
they're
you
all
can go
around
get freight
75%
yourself.
of the load.
You could go get freight yourself.
I have to get my own authority, and I'm not willing to do that. I don't want the responsibility of that.
Well, then deal with what that leaves you. That leaves you limited choices. But that's your choice.
I'm not complaining about how I'm getting paid. That's not the reason I came on this call. I came on this call to talk about some of the changes that need to be made for the drivers in the Savannah Port area.
Well, that's too localized of an issue for me to spend much time on here. I'm sorry, that's why you're on. I'm not going to talk about bathroom access in Savannah.
I'm not talking about bathroom.
So, Billy, you are the one that is really pushing the pay issue here and the choice. And my point is, if you're a business owner, you have every option available. You make the choices. You're trying to turn these companies into employees with set rates.
You're overlooking the history of this industry
No,
for
I'm
the
not.
last 43 years, sir.
Tell
Yes,
me-
you are.
tell me what
I
changed
tell you
after
that now,
deregulation.
and you don't know mine. Then why are owner operators calling for strike across the industry against what's going on?
Not
Then
the people
why
I work
are owner
with.
Operators, I don't know who you work with, but I can tell you right now there are issues that are faced by the majority of owner ops and company drivers.
Give me one. We talked about pay. Give me another one. Because I completely disagree with you on pay. I'm an independent. I will negotiate my own rate with whoever I decide is going to be my customer. If the carrier is my customer, I'll negotiate my deal with the carrier. If the broker's my customer, I'll deal with the broker and negotiate my deal with a broker. If I don't like those options, I'll go to a shipper and I'll negotiate with a shipper. Tell me how that system is broken.
I guess just to interject real quickly, because we were talking about deregulation across different industries, something that we look a lot is both consolidation and vertical integration in industries, and that can really affect people's ability to negotiate, like you're talking about, Kevin. And I think that that's an issue in trucking, and it's an issue in a lot of other industries as well.
Maybe other industries. Yeah, I don't care about that.
It can't be competitive.
With hundreds of thousands of carriers, tens of thousands of brokers, and millions of shippers and receivers, where is there any limitation here? What's broken? If I want to buy a truck, other than the goofy government making me ask for permission, which they're going to give to me as long as I pay for it, other than that, how is this a broken system? I can start a business, I have multiple customers to pick from, and I get to pick. Nobody stops me. What's wrong with that? That's a free market. Yes, please.
If I can interject for just a moment here, okay? So I have a different take on this. I don't think the system, as far as how it's set up federally or the regulation or lack thereof, whatever, I don't think any of that is necessarily broken. Sure, there's issues in every industry, and things can be built upon and fixed, right, or adjusted. Where I tend to think, and just a little background, I do currency trading. I'm a realtor. I have a master's degree. I do trucking. I do a lot of different things here. So, and naturally, as a business owner, as you mentioned before, it's your job to solve problems. And where I see a lot of the issues in this industry, in particular trucking, not just intermodal, is on the carrier side, there is a lack of education. All right. And I don't know if it's just because there's a huge portion. Yes, there's a huge portion of the carriers who are smaller mom and pop carriers who are undereducated or have been taught from somebody who's been doing this for 30 years that thinks you need to drive 1 million miles a month. And I think that for some reason, somehow, and I'm not sure if brokers have a hand in this, just because of the way that, they'll find one person that takes a low rate and then all of a sudden automatically that's the new market rate, or if it's because the carriers themselves are undereducated. And I would lean more towards that side, because how I try to explain it to people is, especially here in this industry or in this market, is, we've got a lot of people out here that they're okay with driving for $1.50 a mile for intermodal freight. And that may seem like a decent rate in another subsector, but for this subsector, it's not. And I'll explain why in a second. The brokers, we've had a huge influx of brokers, especially over COVID. I know we've had a huge influx of carriers as
Exactly.
well.
Good point.
But yes, and you know what? So there's some dilution in the market, right? It's a lot more diluted than it was 2 years ago.
It's more diluted than I've ever seen it.
Absolutely, for sure. Now, supply and demand is one facet of the business, but we also have to look at this at a more granular level, right? So we know inflation has gone up. We know the amount of freight out there has gone down and the carriers have gone up. Well, we also know that the shippers
pay has gone down.
That's what happens with supply and demand.
Absolutely, but there's more to look at than just that. Okay, that's just too broad of a view.
Let me go back a second, because I think that our biggest problem here is going to come down to one thing, and it's what I said in the beginning. We have got to stop confusing employees with business owners, and even what you just said, the pay went down. Pay refers to employees, not business owners. There is no such thing as pay for a business owner. You create your own profit. There is no pay.
My company finds my loads for me. I get 75% of the load. That was the contract I signed. So if they get less money from the shippers,
but that's not pay.
I get less.
That is business. Inflation goes up, rates go down, supply. But that's my point. We've got to stop confusing these two. They should be so completely separate, and we wouldn't waste all this time on issues that don't apply to businesses. Of course, rates go up and
In a free
down.
market scenario, in an actual free market scenario, what you're pushing, they actually work. But
Tell me
in
how this isn't
trucking,
free market. You
because
want to go back to regulated
Where's the free market?
markets.
Show me where. This is a regulated
How?
industry. It's highly
No.
regulated,
We got to stop something.
and it's
Every industry is
also-
regulated.
Also highly competitive.
We're
Yes, it's high.
overregulated.
Well,
Probably
stop
the
a
most
second.
overregulated industry.
Bullshit. My God, I work in the medical industry. You want to talk about overregulation? I work in the financial planning industry. You want to talk about overregulation? I work in the tax industry. I'm heavily regulated in all three of those, far more than I ever was in trucking. So let's stop saying it's the
Really?
most.
Because really? Because I have my own truck that I paid for, that I make the payments on. I do the maintenance on it. I pay the insurance on it, and I can't even leave my driveway without logging into a machine, letting them know I'm going to the corner store to grab some bread.
The
I can't
machine
even leave
didn't.
my own driveway
The
and
machine
buy
didn't change
equipment.
anything.
It did change.
No,
things
it didn't.
because
It just
before
enforced
T-Box-
the same
Yes,
rules
it
that
did.
always existed.
Because when we were on paper logs, I could leave out of my driveway and go wherever I wanted
Cheating.
to in my vehicle.
By cheating.
No, how am I cheating to go to the store?
No, we're not going to
Wait
go
a
to.
minute.
We're not
How
going
am
to
I
ELDs.
cheating?
Drop it.
Personal use.
We're not going to hours of
How am I
service and
cheating to
ELDs.
go driving my own vehicle to the store? Now I have to let them know when I go to the corner store in my truck. That's my truck. It's my business, like you said.
Correct.
I'm my own business.
I'm
Why
not-
do I have to let them know that
Then
I'm
go.
going
Then go
around the corner
fight
in my
hours
truck?
of service. Go fight hours of service and get it changed.
It's not about.
I was making a
hours of
point about how
service.
you said we're not overregulated.
You're-
Yes, we are, because this is my business and my equipment.
You're
and
not
I
the-
have to let the government know
Trucking
when I
is
crank my truck
not
up.
anywhere near the most regulated. So let's just drop that. That's
It's
we're
very
all regulated.
overregulated.
But all right. But give me a financial regulation. There are none. I can charge any business any rate I want to. I can charge the carrier if they want to hire me. Whatever I choose. I can charge the broker if they want to hire me, whatever I choose. I can charge the shipper, whatever I choose. We have zero financial regulation. That's what I'm talking about. That is a free market the way it should be. You want to go back to a regulated market where the government gets to control those rates.
You indicate that that's a free market. Okay, here's an example, a personal example. I ran a load from Petersburg, Virginia, down to Orlando, Florida, at 1,700. Agreed to take the same load back several days afterwards, all right, at the same price. An email showed up to me from the freight broker saying that lane pays $600 less than what I took it down for. That's a free market?
Yes.
Who's real?
It's supply. Do you know why?
It's not a free market.
Of course
Who
it
said
is.
the lane
Everybody,
pays
every player is
different
free to
going
choose.
out, come down? Okay?
Of course it's different.
Who determined that?
Do you pay the same
It's
thing
just-
for a
no, it
Kia
is
that
not.
you pay for a Maserati? No, it's a different. It's a
That's
different
a totally
product. It's a
example.
different lane.
That's a totally
Now,
right.
tell me
And
why.
we are
Explain to
talking
me
about
why freight coming out
product-
of Florida is cheaper than freight going in. Explain to me why. Because there's a simple answer.
Yeah, there is.
What
No
is it?
freight coming out, so you have to take a lower rate.
Do what
Does
now?
that mean that that's a free? No, it's not a free market. How is it cost you less money to come out of the same location?
It doesn't
came
have,
into?
and business doesn't have much to do with cost. My cost, I could pull
Oh,
freight
but
out of
that's
Florida all day
their
long at a
fault.
profit. I'll bring you,
Has everything to
I
do
will
with
bring
cost.
you one of the most
operation
successful
of
owner-operators I know. And he pulls freight
know what?
out of Florida every single week, and he has for years. He's an independent. He bills customers directly. He bills brokers directly, and he pulls freight out of Florida every single week, and he's killing it still today. So it is a free market. The people who know how to run their business, know how to control their cost, know how to negotiate, are doing it, and they're doing just fine. That's what makes it free. They have total choice.
And that's where I
Except
said
that
that.
there is a
Well, I have a question for you.
unusual minority.
Go ahead with the question.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
If everything's so great and it's such a free market, why is it that I watched a video about you having 10 and 12 trucks and you couldn't control your costs and you went down to 2 trucks and sold the rest of the trucks?
And then worked my way back
it's
to
hard.
Yes, it's hard. It's supposed to be hard. If business was easy, everybody would be
understand
in
that, but-
business. It's competitive.
But you saw what
I admit
drivers
my
were going
failures.
through because you had to sell all your trucks.
Yes, I did. And I'm glad. It's how I learned to be a better business owner. And then I took that knowledge and I've helped tens of thousands of other owner operators get better. That's what a free market is. It's competitive. I didn't know what I was doing. I grew too fast. I almost went bankrupt, but I didn't. And I built that business back and sold it for a really nice profit after making it very profitable.
Lucky
That's how
you.
business. No, not lucky. My
because
ass.
It doesn't work for everybody.
You're right. It doesn't work for everybody because they don't do the hard work. All this complaining about, we want to see the broker's rate. I ask those people, let me see your rates. Let me see your P&L. How much profit are you making? First off, they don't have it. 90% of owner-operators in this country have no accounting system. And they're running a business. And they think they're being cheated. They're cheating themselves.
Actually, I agree with you on that point to an extent, except that they're brainwashed into thinking they're running a business when they're really not.
Of course they are. They make the choice not to run it like a... Nobody brainwashed them to not do accounting. That was their choice. I'll go back to Ryan, because Ryan had the only statement I completely agree with, and is the whole point here. It's education. That's what I do.
I agree with that.
I educate people. I've been doing it for 30 years. I have very successful owner-operators and small carriers because the system works.
I think really the education portion is probably the crux of the whole issue when it comes down to probably everything from the carrier side down to the leased on owner operator, even the company driver. Here's the reality of the situation. It
Now,
is a free market,
let me jump. And I hate to keep interrupting, but on the employee side,
that's fine.
I don't think we need to educate them much more. They should have the protection.
They need a different type of education.
Yeah,
not for running a business. They need other education.
Yeah.
It's a big puppy mill when it comes down to CDLs
It is.
nowadays.
I agree.
I know this.
I agree.
It's horrible. Right. What it is gonna lead to is overregulation because of
that's what I'm afraid of.
And mishaps that happen.
Yes.
And that will lead to that. But on the owner operator side and the carrier side.
So let me go back to why I fight with so many groups in this industry that are claiming to help the same people I educate. OIDA, lots of groups, because I never see education as the solution. It's always some government thing they want changed. Nobody seriously talks about education ever as the solution to this.
I disagree with you.
Give me an example
about that.
What you've talked about it. What?
It's actually worked by teaching people what it takes to operate. In fact, across the industry now, there are many different owner-operators educating those that are less informed about what us are, doing their rights, as well as how to operate a business. You can almost go on any platform today and see people asking, what is fuel surcharge?
I wrote a course on explaining fuel surcharge. I have a course.
This is a problem in the industry.
What is?
The lack of education.
Yes,
it is.
absolutely.
We totally agree with that. And it is one of the biggest issues, probably,
Then-
because
then I always wonder-
And owner knew their business, some of this stuff would go away. It wouldn't be able to be manipulated the way it has been for the last 43 years.
Correct.
You, sir, you had a business that failed, then you rebuilt it because you learned. That's fine. That's your specific case. Ryan, bless your heart, brother, you seem to know the industry too. Suzanne's also speaking from her experience, as am I. We each have had different experiences, but the bottom line is this industry, trucking, doesn't matter what segment of it, is manipulated by large entities, whether they be freight brokers or mega carriers. It's manipulated, and it trickles down to have an effect on the single truck owner-operator, the leased-on
So-
owner-operator, as well as a company driver.
So what's your solution?
That is the issue. All right. My solution, I said from the beginning, the solution TMJ has come up with is that drivers across the industry organize. That will change things because we are the only entity in the industry that is not organized. Carriers have the ATA and state organizations, the TIA and state organizations, and there is a tremendous amount of manipulation.
Wait. Why did you just skip over OOIDA and NASTIC and I could go through 15
Because
other
none of them have
associations.
done
Yeah, but you said they're not
anything
organized.
to improve the
Maybe they're
conditions.
organized poorly, but they are organized. The attempts have been made to organize, but we'll come back to my point.
And what have they
Small
done?
businesses don't
What have they
organize.
accomplished?
Nothing.
What have they accomplished?
Nothing, because small businesses don't organize.
Exactly.
That's anti-capitalistic. I join associations
Maybe
for one
that's-
thing, for education. And there's only one reasonably good-sized association in this industry that actually promotes education. It's NASTIC. Have you talked to NASTIC?
I'm not familiar with them. I'm not familiar with them. I'm not even going to say I am. I've heard the name. All right.
They represent
And that's all I know
16,000
about.
small trucking companies. I believe it's about 180 some thousand power units, and they don't run to
But they
the reason you don't know
accomplished the end
about
of-
them is because they don't run to the government and organize protests or
Nobody's running to the
shutdowns through
government here.
businesses. They educate their business
Nobody's
owners.
running to the government here.
That's all I ever
Nobody's
see.
running to the government here. Okay. TMJ doesn't run to the government. You don't know anything about us, so don't make a blanket statement like that. TMJ is an economic organization that focuses on economic and other quality of
So you
issues with
agree that
small
education
co-ops.
is the
I'm not
solution?
finished talking,
What are your
sir.
educational
I'm not
solutions?
finished talking.
You don't ever finish talking. I
Our
have to
educational
interrupt you.
solutions are simpler. You don't. You can wait until I'm finished.
You don't finish. You
You
just keep
invited
going
us
on to
on here.
other points, and then I have to stop so we can come
No,
back
I'm
to a
not. I'm
point.
sticking right on the point. All right. Don't try to put words in my mouth or dilute what we're trying to say here. You tried that with both Ryan, myself, Brooke, as well as Suzanne. All right. We're making specific points about issues that are faced by drivers, truckers in this industry. You don't seem to want to hear that. You want to seem to focus on they're not intelligent business people. Maybe they're not.
I did not ever question
Okay.
anybody's
Oh, let me
intelligence.
pause you there because I have 3 college degrees. I am not stupid. And I'm
Not
a very
once
smart business
did
owner.
I
I've been
say
in business for
anything
25 years.
about intelligence. They're ignorant, not stupid, not
I'm
dumb.
very educated.
You could also be completely educated and completely ignorant about the topic.
You need to watch your words, sir, because you're making a fool out of yourself.
Because I just defined ignorance correctly.
Just kind of get back to the point.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we should kind of get back to the point. I mean, if we're talking about education, I think we all kind of agree on education. I think maybe we all think that there's different parts of education that need to be instilled in different areas of the industry, and that should be true. Obviously, there's different risks and different jobs for each independent truck driver, carrier, or employee, company driver. But, it needs to come down to knowing your role and knowing your worth. And I think education has a huge role to play in that. I'll give you one example, and then I'm just going to cut it short because this is kind of becoming a clusterfuck here. Excuse my language. But when we talk about the intermodal industry, and I know it's a little too granular for you to cover on this, so I will. We talk about the rates for carriers, and carriers out here, because it's so diluted, and the age of the carriers, meaning they're young, have come in with less experience. They don't understand our value, right? They don't understand their own value. And just as a shipper is not going to negotiate with a ship line on what they're going to pay, the shippers or brokers shouldn't be negotiating with us, and I don't mean it in the way that you think I mean it. I mean, they shouldn't be telling us, I guess I should say, what we're going to pay, right? The person buying a house is the one that dictates the price for it. The person moving the freight is the one that dictates what they'll move the freight for. And you have covered this. But on a granular level, the carriers themselves don't understand that. And I think educating them on this issue and not allowing the brokers to drive the rates is something that's going to be imperative for carriers to survive in this business. Because right now, the brokers run the rates. There are
stop
out there who are educated.
See, I have to interrupt. The brokers, there's 16,000 of them, and they have to compete.
There's 92 with freight forwarders.
Correct. I wasn't including freight forwarders because it doesn't affect the over-the-road market much, but that's okay. Let's put even more in because that makes my point even more. Now, on top of those people who are getting freight, we also have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of carriers who can also go directly to a shipper. How is that not free and open competition? You can't collude. The brokers cannot control the rate.
Hello.
It's impossible.
You're missing my.
I just want to interrupt real quick, Ryan and Kevin. I think maybe we have to hop off soon. And I just wanted Truckers Movement for Justice to get a chance to talk about any upcoming events they're having, just in case any of your listeners
Please,
are
go
interested
ahead.
in getting involved.
Yes.
Because there's power in numbers.
Yeah, put it out there. What do you got coming up?
West Texas, South Texas, a meeting in Savannah for Georgia drivers, especially in the ports, on October 14th at 10:30 a.m. Location to be set still, but more likely than not, it'll be at the Longshoremen's Hall, Local 1414. And drivers in West Virginia, in the coal fields, the frac sand pits, are also meeting later in October.
So it sounds like there's a lot going on. Is there a website they can go to find a schedule? Because that sounds like a lot to keep track of.
Just Google Truckers Movement for Justice and you'll find it.
Got it.
And if you want to know more about what we're doing in Savannah, you can go to the Savannah Port Trucker page on Facebook. I'm keeping all the drivers updated on the meeting times and what we're trying to accomplish.
Got it.
And if we would like to, you have a way that we can download and share this broadcast?
Yes. You can get our app. Everything is on the app. It's always available, every show we've ever done. And then you can just grab it off the app.
Okay. Brooke, do you have that app that he's talking about?
The link.
The link?
I don't, but I can try to find it.
I can make it.
I would love to
if you go to, I'll make it easy.
Yep.
If you go to either app store and search for Let's Truck, our app will come right up to the top.
Cool.
We have
and
a couple.
Thank you, Kevin, for having us on. I think that,
we have well, thank you. And I know I get contentious, and I do it because I have advocated for successful owner-operators my entire life. My father failed as an owner-operator over and over during the regulated time. So it wasn't all, rainbows and unicorns back then. It was a very, very tough business. And his failure and my almost failure when I first tried is what motivated me for the last 30 years to spend virtually every minute of every day. I try to figure out a way to educate owner-operators better so they can succeed. And I am a big believer in the free market and education. And all I see in this industry, and if these groups aren't doing it, kudos to you, but everybody else is asking the government to fix the problem. And it makes me crazy. And I do get a little contentious, so I apologize.
No need to apologize on that, but TMJ, Trump's Movement for Justice is not asking the government for anything. There are many groups that go running to the government. What we're dealing with is directed industry, whether it's carriers, shippers, freight brokers. Come to the table, listen to what owner-ops, small carriers, and company drivers are talking about in terms of what we feel, what we feel is wrong with the industry. And
can I give a way that can happen right now?
Those issues. Go ahead.
I see it happen, not very much, and I've encouraged people to do this. State trucking associations, we're not talking about the ATA here, state trucking associations are awesome places to go have these kinds of conversations directly with brokers and sometimes shippers and other small carriers. I see very few 10 truck or less carriers get involved in their state trucking associations. And I encourage you, if you've got one truck, join. It's not expensive, and attend. Get involved. That's a place where problems get solved. The TIA, I know you're not wild about them. They are an excellent organization for their members, brokers. Brokers are not our enemy. Brokers are one of our customers, and we should start treating them that way. And attending TIA meetings is an excellent place for a small carrier to learn about, understand, and build relationships with those small brokers. And a lot of these problems go away when you do that.
Oh, I agree that a lot of problems go away when there's negotiation and interaction between different parts of an entity. That's exactly what we're identifying with, negotiation. We have a meeting set up with the Florida Fruit and Vegetable Growers Association to discuss issues that reefer drivers coming out of Florida have, as well as to discuss their issues that there is no they don't have enough capacity to ship their goods. These are all things that we're engaged in, all right? And others that are along the similar lines with TMJ, like Real Women in Trucking, are engaged in. This is what we hope to do in Savannah on the 14th. Let drivers and owner-ops come into a meeting, discuss what's wrong, and then approach the powers that be in the port with the grievances. And it's already resulted, as Suzanne told me the other day, with some minor benefits to the drivers
that we were having. Yeah.
Right. And this is what we believe in. Negotiation.
Excellent.
All right. Education, negotiation.
I agree.
All right. We don't need to run to the government because the government is in the hands of industry, to be very honest with you. And they're not going to do shit for us.
Couldn't agree more. And if we start talking about that, we'll be here for 6 hours because you'll get me all wound up on that one. So why don't we end it on a positive note?
And let's end it on the positive note that truck drivers across the country are organizing and trying to negotiate based on grievances that are widespread as well as local, be it Savannah, be it West Texas, be it Ohio, be it across the industry. And that's what we're all.
Got
Peace and solidarity to you, sir. Take care.
Take care. Thanks, everybody. All right. We are going to... Yes, thanks, everybody. We are going to open the phone lines. Let me see. They might be open already. Nope. Yes, they are. Jump in and join us. I will hang out here for a couple minutes. If we don't get any calls, I'll wrap this up. If you want to call, I'll stay. I will still... I just wanted to end on a positive note. So I still have one huge problem, and I was getting nowhere with it. So there's no point in continuing on that path. The mistake I see here, employees should organize and fight for whatever rights they want to fight for. I don't know why we keep lumping business owners into all this. This kind of stuff is the last thing I want to do as a business owner. I don't want to go solve my competitors' problems. I solve my own. That's what gives me the competitive advantage. That's what business is. And yet, what do? And I did it when I owned trucks. I educated my competition because it made us all better. I educated lots of contractors at FedEx Ground at the same terminal I was at, competing for the same dedicated runs. And I helped them with their accounting, and I helped educate them, even though they were direct competitors. I would rather educate them than organize with them. I don't understand the organizing and demanding. Unions, you can call it negotiation if you want, but it's really not. And I don't want somebody else negotiating for me anyway as a business owner. I don't care if it does work. It doesn't work for me. So, but I like I said, I was getting nowhere with that point. So I made my points. They made theirs. I don't think there was much sense in continuing. I don't think we're going to come to many agreements. Let's go to Oklahoma. Paul, welcome.
Howdy.
What's on your mind today?
Your previous guests, the Ryan guy, he seems reasonable and he knows the solution. It's education.
Yes. As soon as he said that, I lit up.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, he gets it.
Yeah, I don't agree with everything he said, but he's a lot smarter than the other couple that were on there. So, yeah. So I am a business owner, leased to the same carrier for over 19 years. I have my own truck, my own trailer. I'm on a percentage contract, but there has been times when they've said, oh, this is the load that we got. You know, some of the real ugly loads, when you get to the stragglers, the left behind, and they got to go. It's 10 units going to 10 different 10 different cities, 10 different dealers. I've had some ugly loads. Well, the rate that's on the sheet, because it's a diminishing load, you know, multi-stop, the overall rate per mile goes down. Well, there's been many a time I just call the head dispatcher and I say, I'm interested in that load, but I have a different rate.
Well, wait, you can't negotiate. Wait, stop, Paul. You can't. What are you thinking? You can't negotiate with your carrier.
Yeah, I can.
No, you can't. They promised me you can't.
Oh, hell. So I'm not allowed to do that anymore?
See, that's when I kept losing my mind. And I still do, just thinking about it. They kept saying, you can't negotiate with a broker, with a carrier. You can't negotiate with them. I was losing my mind. Do people really believe that? I don't get
some
it.
Do, but I would, and it makes it so much easier with the technology. You don't got to look in the Rand McNally.
Here's a statement that makes much more sense. You won't negotiate with them. Because you certainly can, or you can move on and go negotiate with somebody else. And every business should have the right to either negotiate or not. If I want to say, this is my price, I'm never changing it for anybody, well, that should be my right.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I don't know where they get the extra money from, but I don't really care. And if it's a multi-stop load and it's real ugly, with the iPad, I don't stick the exact destination in, because I'll get close enough on the miles. I can work it out. And it's like, okay, boy, and then I'll work out what it's going to pay per mile if they just pay me the regular rate, and then I'll work out how much extra I want. Then usually I add on a little bit because I know there's going to be we can't do that, but we can do this. So, I had two loads in 1 week where I negotiated $1,200 extra.
Two in 1 week?
So, yeah.
So I just thought of something.
I put it as a package deal. Yeah.
I just thought of something. Even with a giant carrier like FedEx Ground and thousands of employees and really strict rules, the bigger companies get, the harder they are to deal with. They have to have more and more rules. I get it. But even in a situation like that, I used to negotiate pay on the spot. We had ways around it. The coordinators, the dispatchers, the coordinators needed stuff done sometimes. Like you'd get to one of these remote terminals and their yard tractor would be broke down, which was common. And they'd ask me to move trailers around for them. And I'd be like, all right, I'll do. They would just add the drop-in hooks in. There was a way for them, and I would ask for it. Look, I'll move all the trailers around you want. You just, when I'm done, I'm going to tell you how many drop-in hooks I had, and you put it in the system.
Yeah. So, and it even works with another carrier that I pull for. Okay, not for a long time actually, but used to do frequent loads for them and go from Georgia to Oklahoma. Actually, there was 2 of them that I would pull for. Well, a lot of auto transport guys, they don't want to go to Oklahoma because there's not a lot that comes out of Oklahoma. But I live there, so I'm quite happy to go there. So they'd have a load posted, say it was 4,500. Well, I'd call the guy and say, I need a couple of $100 extra on it. I can load it today and I can deliver it the day after tomorrow. And he knew that I'd get it picked up and I'd get it delivered, and he wouldn't be getting a phone call, the claims guy, he damaged one. So I would regularly get extra money on a load that they posted, and I wouldn't do it I would go directly to him. I'm leased to a carrier, but then I'd call the carrier I'm leased to and say, I renegotiated the rate, and he's going to email it over to you. Oh, okay, good deal.
Yeah. Everybody, if you're not negotiating, my question would be, why not? Why are you not negotiating? Because everybody will negotiate, and if they won't, there's plenty of players, so move on to somebody who will.
Yeah.
Here's another one. Just another example. I can go back to FedEx again. There were times dispatch would ask you to do something that they couldn't pay you for, whatever it might be. The one big example I had when I unloaded all those trailers at the scales, that they had no way to pay me for that. And I wasn't going to push it up through management because there's an advantage you can create here. Dispatch, controls a lot of your day. And if I can do them a big favor and they can't, look, if they could pay me, then it's not a favor. It's just what I do. But if you can't pay me for this, it now becomes a favor. I love the concept in the book 7 Habits of the Emotional Bank Account. I like keeping a big positive balance in that account. So I go above and beyond to help people and not get paid for it because it's like money in the bank.
Yeah. And you can use it one day.
Yes. Yes. And I have.
Yeah, or not use it one day.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I unhooked my old trailer yesterday. I'm on the way to Florida to pick up my new trailer, and I'm going to go about 1,200 miles with zero revenue. But that's my choice, and I'll go get my new trailer. So, So if anybody sees a green and white car carrier bouncing between Oklahoma and Florida, that's me.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, phone lines are slammed. Holy cow! I don't know if I've ever had this many calls. Yeah. I don't know if I've ever had this many calls. Let's go to Kansas. Bob, welcome.
Hey, Kevin. Sounds like you got the hornet's nest all wound up today.
I think so.
I listen to those guys talk. They must have like an idea that you have a right to succeed in this country. And that is so fundamentally wrong. I mean, what they're thinking is so backwards. It sounds so crazy, but I was thinking
let's use another word. Let's use another word because I think it's more powerful. They act as though they're entitled to success.
Entitled, yes. Here's the one thing that I hear you say a lot. You're like, there's no other industry that runs or operates like this, but I was thinking about, I'm from Kansas, and you see everything's farms, everything's connected to farms here in Kansas, and they have that right. They have this ability to never fail. And all that has gotten Kansas and other farm states is this government welfare that never allows new blood to come in. There's no new farmers. You have to be born into it or marry into it. There's no new ideas in farming. And this is what the government has done.
You're
and
right.
That's what you're talking about when you tell them, I don't want the government running my industry. But if you look at agriculture and how screwed up it is, the farmers grow this food that is killing us. That's part of your thing. But it's because the government is telling them how to work their farm.
Not only that, let's take it one step further. The government takes our money, pays the farmers to either grow less or not grow. Corn is so heavily subsidized, it's insane. So they're using our money to subsidize the food that's killing us.
And making us stupid, evidently.
Yes.
That we can't tell that we live in this wonderful free country that has this capitalistic, model of economy. And now we want to revert back to some type of socialism? What is wrong with these people?
That's why I lose my mind.
And they seem like smart, wonderful people. There's nothing wrong with them. But I just cannot, for the life of me, I don't understand why somebody would want to revert back to a system that clearly does not work.
The other comment I kept wanting to make, but I held back because I know we just go down another rabbit hole we can't solve. I'm glad that Ryan, before I ever said it, Ryan brought up the word education. I was so encouraged by that. But I also did want to get to the point, and I decided not to. I do believe education is the answer, but whose responsibility is it to be educated?
It's ours. Our responsibility to educate ourselves.
Right. I don't want to see any kind of mandated education because that would be a disaster. All we can do is make education available, maybe talk about it, but everybody, it's up to them. If you choose to get into business without educating yourself about business, which people on this call have not done. Clearly, I heard them. They're not educated about business. If you choose to go into business without educating yourself, then the results are on you. And when I hear
like me,
adults are
Kevin,
brainwashed, my God, is that offensive
Kevin, I
to me?
honest with you. I have screwed up every part of my business along its way.
Me too.
I started wrong. I got in the middle of it wrong. I got everything wrong. I didn't go to college. I didn't figure out all of these problems. But you know what? I failed. And then I failed some more. And then I failed some more. But this is what I have learned. This is how I have been in business. This is how, and it's been hard. I have gone through some really terrible stuff.
And it will never get easy.
You failed. Your business failed. But that is exactly what you got to do. You got to keep failing and failing and failing. And then one day you're like, oh, you know how I can get a better rate? I can talk to this guy. I can provide a better service. I can do the worst load for this guy. I can do something special. I can trade a favor. Those are the little things you learn when you're failing. So in
that call, that hour, how many people on the call used the word customer and service?
None.
I
did.
It
was all about them.
No, I did.
Oh, yeah, you did.
I did.
Not them. No.
Not them. Nobody else on the call used the word customer or service. No wonder why your business fails if your mindset isn't always customers and serving. If that's not your mindset, you're probably going to fail.
Absolutely. It is all about the customer. You are there. You may be your own boss, but your customer is your boss. Even
Absolutely.
If it's just for an hour a day, that person should be your number one. We are in the service industry. We're not in trucking. We serve other people.
If I stopped showing up at 8 a.m. Pacific time and if I don't show up and start talking, how long would I have customers? I would start losing customers immediately. And within some period of time, I wouldn't have any left. I have to show up. I have to show up every day. I have to do the hard work. This never gets easy, ever. And I love that.
I just wish they could they would just pick that up just maybe in time they will. Maybe in time they will start to understand that this is the number one important thing. You have to. It's not about organizing. It's not about making these big groups. It's about serving your customer and watching your own numbers. And
So-
all that is on you. It's not about a group. It's not about an
law.
industry-wide.
Right. So that is the point that I know. I doubt that I'll ever change their mind on that. And it's not my goal. I don't bring groups on, or I don't do stories about these groups to try to change their mind. I do it as a way for the people listening to learn from both sides and then make up their own mind. Who do you think has the better solution? That's kind of why I put these things out there.
Definitely you, Kevin. Definitely you.
And in all fairness, it's not really me. This is how business has worked from day one. This isn't something I made up or creative. I'm not this smart. When I decided I had to get educated because I kept failing and struggling, I started to learn. This is just how every business works and how it's always worked. I'm not teaching anybody anything special.
Is it because of the educational system?
I think
and
so.
This idea of socialism has been passed through,
I think
and we've
so.
grown up through it, and it is just lingering in the air.
But you know what
like
shocks
a bad
me?
fart, and people keep picking it up.
You know what shocks me? And it really does. When I have my spaces and I've been fighting with Noah on these same issues, these callers, I don't know for sure, but I get the feeling they're close to my age. I don't remember being educated like this. I mean, I remember growing up in what I thought was a country where if you wanted to be in business, you could be. I was in business when I was 15. I've always wanted to be in business, but I also believe that not everybody should be in business. And that's a big part of the problem we're seeing here. People think just because they decide to get into business, they're entitled to success. And then when they don't achieve it, they start blaming everybody else. That's when I get crazy. Let's go to Ohio. Steve, welcome to the program.
Hey, good morning, Kevin. There's a lot of socialism
Man.
involved here. I'll tell you. And look. I know the port at Savannah can be particularly bad, but I know there are probably 20% of the people that work that port that are just as successful there as Herschel is at the port, inland port in Columbus, Ohio.
Exactly.
And I guarantee you, Herschel's not going to be at that bitch and moan beating they're going to have in Ohio.
You know,
I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, right. And I could have gone down so many paths, but with proof of so much of this, but we can't even get past this point that the only answer is to organize. I did an entire year-long program with CSX. I visited every one of their ramps and educated their owner-operators on how to be more successful. And it worked. Some of them did much better after that. Not all of them, though.
But the ones that learned how to serve their customers.
Right.
That was it.
Yeah.
That was it. Look, so many times people say, you were lucky. And I said, no, they hand me 15 stops and I get them all off in time.
The luck is not a part of this.
Dispatchers then they're gonna take the path of least resistance. That load has got to go. Give it to Steve. He'll get it off. He'll give it to Herschel. He'll get it done.
This will tell you their thought process. When I went through the quick version of, I had one truck, then I had 11 trucks, then I had a brokerage. I did not know what I was doing. I took full responsibility. I didn't say it was the fuel prices or the 2 engines I blew up that summer or the contract that got canceled on me for 3 of my trucks. I never said those were the reasons. I always say the reason is because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I shouldn't have been running a business.
You
I
weren't
shouldn't
ready,
have been
but you educated.
growing a business. So then when I talked about, I educated myself and I built the business back and then I sold it for a profit. And what was her first word? Well, lucky for you. Luck my
Lucky
ass.
for
I almost
you,
lost it then. I almost came unglued.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Look, when y'all started out, everybody used to laugh at FedEx contractors. They said they're working for nothing. I heard it out there all the time.
I took
y'all
so much heat over that.
Regular money coming in. Oh, I know. Yeah.
72 cents a mile.
Down our way.
72 cents a mile. That's what I was. But you know what?
I know.
Once I educated myself, I saw where there was a lot of potential there. It wasn't perfect. Their local work, the pay sucked. It was even worse than that low line haul pay. But I was watching people build fleets and really start to make money with those crazy low rates. And I thought, how does this work? Well, once you start doing accounting, you're not over the road.
Yeah.
It's much, much easier to control your expenses. I didn't have issues with driver turnover. My trucks went to one shop and one shop only, so I didn't have maintenance problems. It was scheduled runs, so I was able to control my fuel cost really well, and the company gave us good deals on fuel. Then they switched it to a good fuel. So I saw huge potential where other people just laughed and said, I'd never work for that rate.
Oh, I know. Even when you sold it, I think you were mentioning that last year, like 150 something a mile. But guess what? 150 something a mile and plus fuel, that was a lot of money because you had the same route every night. Your costs were so low on that route. What did you rent from Orlando to Richmond Hill or something like that?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. 543 miles a day paid every day. There's another thing. 0 deadhead miles. 0.
That's it. 0. That's it.
Not only
200 or 300 a week.
Not only did we get paid for every mile we put on the truck, many of our runs, somebody had a broken odometer when they went and figured them out, because many of our runs actually paid, 10 or 12 more miles than what was real. Not a big deal, but it's certainly better than the opposite.
Exactly. But, here's the thing. You can find one of my favorite stories is the acres of diamonds. You can find your acres of diamonds wherever you're at. It doesn't have to be at Landstar. It doesn't have to be having your own authority and having a big, a fleet that's growing. You can find it anywhere. You can find it as a company driver.
Wait,
I've got company driver friends that are doing $120,000 a year.
I'm feeling argumentative today. I'm going to push back. There is one place where you're not going to find that acre of diamonds. You're not going to find it at a union meeting.
No, you're not, because 97 of the top 100 union companies when I went to work in 1981 are now out of business.
Yeah.
And the only reason there's 3 is because Transforce became union because they were part of UPS for a long time, and they became union. It was non-union when it was overnight, but then it became union. So there's 3 now, though. That's it. And so it's not much left. It's very little left. You had to go to work with a union company in 81. There was hardly any choice.
And the other difference is it's the mindset of being in a union or organizing, like this group wants to organize. The mindset is we're all the same and we're going to force you to treat us the same. There's nothing about creativity or problem solving or relationship building or customer service. It's all about we are now powerful because we got together and we're going to demand things from you.
Yeah, that doesn't get it. Like I say, the only way to make more money is to add more value.
That's it.
And people in our tribe tend to do that. We add more value, we make more money. Look, the rates aren't great this year on the spot market, but I'm still doing great this year. Anyhow, it's not a big deal. Hey, I'm having to scramble here and there, but the thing is I've built enough relationships. I can make 10 phone calls and find that good load that I needed to fill in. I don't have to sit there and take what's on the load board.
I thought it was hilarious that he wanted to bring up Florida. We all know about Florida. Come on, how can you be in trucking and not understand this? And yet, my best example of success is a truck that's in Florida every week.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I know. Matt goes in and out of
every week,
Florida,
week after week after week.
But he does things. He does multi stops in and out.
He provides value.
You do things other people don't. You add more value. That's it.
Yep.
That's the only reason that he does, and he's always on time. Look,
that's
you
value.
got to do that. That's what
That's
you
right.
do to build relationships.
Yep.
You add that value. You're on time all the time. You keep your own body, your own self in good shape to be on time, and you keep your equipment up. You do those three things, you can build all the relationships in the world.
Yep.
And communicate with those customers.
And
that's
negotiate.
it. I mean, that's it. It's not rocket science.
Yeah.
That's it. And you can get some negotiation in. Yeah. I mean, and my best customers, I don't beat them. I don't beat them over the head. But
you don't have to.
One this morning, I don't have to beat them over the head. I had this receiver thing. I had a little detention today. I had them sign the times in and out. I should get it. I most likely will get it. If I don't, it's no big deal.
Right.
It is what it is. But for the most part, you get that in. You've emailed in and out of your shipper. They have a timestamp of when you were there, when you left.
There you go.
So when you have those kind of situations, then run the tracking apps. If you do those things that the customer wants, then generally speaking, you're gonna get it. Mine just came over. I got 3 hours of detention at $60 an hour. So an extra 180.
There you go, Steve. I got to keep moving. I think we did get the Hornets' Nest a little riled up. We're going to go to San Francisco. Jeremy, what's on your mind?
Hey, Kevin, kind of answered my question. I was going to ask, the guys on Twitter that you have been talking with, and then the last interview you had, what was their main point? And you kind of answered it. You said they, I guess, want to get together with everybody that kind of has had a bad day or a bad experience, and I guess unionize.
I've never seen.
Are they talking to company drivers or owner operators?
They won't. They don't distinguish. They're just they want to organize everybody. That I tried to get some clarity on that several times, and they just talked over me on that one. That no, we're organizing was all they would say. Then they would use words like driver and pay and wages. Well, wait a minute. Those are not business terms. Not unless I'm paying those things as a business. But I couldn't get them to even clarify or separate that. From what I could gather, they just think everybody who holds a steering wheel should get together. And I know why. Because they need big numbers and it's hard to get. OOIDA's been at this for 50 years, and they still only have 160,000 members out of 3 million truck drivers. So the problem is they can't figure out how to attract enough people to get powerful. So now they'll just lump everybody in. If you hold a steering wheel, you should organize with us.
If they got powerful, what is the ultimate goal?
I don't know. We could never get to that. I don't know. I really don't. Did you hear when I asked what his solution was? He went off on tangents, and every time I tried to bring him back to the point, he'd spend 3 minutes telling me to stop interrupting him.
Yeah, I mean, I missed a big chunk of the beginning and the middle.
No, go back and listen.
Came in at the end, but
go back and listen. So, every time I would try to get him to a solution, he would start talking. He doesn't stop talking, and he would go off on tangents, and he wasn't answering the question. So I did keep interrupting him. But then he would spend 4 minutes telling me not to interrupt him. So, yeah, it's just frustrating. I don't. Yeah. I do this to help educate people, but I do not enjoy this.
Yeah, it's great. It's great, though. Can I ask your opinion on a quick question on?
Sure.
I can't wait till Thursday for the tires. Sure. I mean, I'm going to ask, but let's see. If you it was about 3.5 hours before, and probably losing some tire pressure on a steer, and made it to the truck stop, and one tire was 40 pounds hotter, and then checked it, and it was down to 20 pounds. It was already down. It was. Tammy woke me up. I was like, "Hey, we got." Anyway, bottom line, we don't know how long we were driving on it. Probably she would have noticed it though if we were driving on something that low. But question was, would you just check it out, fix it up, put air in it, and roll on it?
What's the tread depth?
Is sidewall damage possible, or
what's the tread depth?
It's good. I mean, it's deep. We only had 90,000 miles on these. Yeah.
Tires are very, very durable when it comes to this kind of abuse. They can take a lot of this kind of abuse and not really. I mean, if it damaged, you would start to see the physical damage in the sidewall. I mean, you would see splitting and stress fractures and that would be after the tire was run flat for a while. Even a little bit of pressure. Hundreds of miles. Okay. Well, not completely flat. I mean, you can tear up a completely flat tire pretty quickly. But even a little bit of air holds that tire in a reasonable shape that isn't causing damage. And it had to be for a short period of time. Right. So this tire wouldn't worry me at all.
Okay. Yeah, and that's what I was saying. I mean, a company like, Bridgestone, Michelin, and technology, they're making them so well. But so we go 6,000 miles a week, plus. And,
I get it.
Can't be worried about it sometimes.
If this tire was down to 30% tread, I'd probably say, I don't even know if I would then, honestly. Really, I just don't see that there's any real risk in this tire.
All right, thanks a lot.
If you ask again on Thursday, and Mike gives you a different answer, tell me.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks for the call. Let's go to North Dakota. Tom, welcome.
Hey, Kevin. Hey, I'm proud of myself. That was very taxing to sit through that with those folks. The old guy he's worried about bathrooms at one point there,
I had to get off that topic fast. I'm not going to spend my time on that kind of minutia. If you can't find a bathroom, and again, as an employee driver, I get it. You shouldn't have to deal with that. It sucks that we live in a society where this has even become an issue. But I will promise you, as an owner-operator, I would not waste 30 seconds thinking about this. If I had to put a composting toilet in my truck, I would do it. I just never found this to be a problem.
No, me neither. And Bob, the caller earlier, and the last caller, I guess, because I was just trying to figure out why you had those folks on there to begin with, and
let me give my
responsibility.
Let me give my overriding reason for doing this. Maybe it's misplaced. Maybe I'm wasting my time. I don't know, but I would hate to see these groups get traction. I'm actually trying to fight against what they want to do. I don't want them to. This is how government screws up industries. And I know they're saying they're not asking the government. Who the hell are they asking then? I was gonna go down that path, but I just don't think I'm going to get a good answer from him. We're going to organize. Okay, now that you organized, I guess you're going to try to put pressure on somebody. Who are you going to put pressure on? It always ends up to be the government. Because nobody else can change this stuff. The free market is too big. You can't put enough pressure on shippers. How the hell would that ever work? There's a gazillion of them.
The government, number one, you don't want the government in anything.
Correct, and that's where it always ends up.
If they did get in it, they wouldn't be able to change it. The one time that you said the broker being your customer, the guy that was the older guy, all he did was laugh.
They were laughing. They don't understand that.
I feel sorry for the guy that owns that company going out of the ports, but nobody's making him. He said he had an MBA and a couple other businesses. Just turn off the trucks, go park them. If everything gets so bad, but if you can't move. But the lady that worked for him, when you said, well, why don't you go out and get your own authority and your and run your own business? Well, I don't want to have to go to that house.
I don't want to. I don't want to. That sounds like a 4-year-old.
Well, and it's this. You asked earlier. You don't remember it being like the entitlement mindset when you were in school. Well, you didn't. You got lucky. You're probably in a pretty conservative area of Ohio, and it hadn't infiltrated down to the high school yet. It started. I'm originally from LA, and it started to infiltrate down when I was in school in the early 80s. But you didn't go to college to get the full indoctrination.
Oh, that's true. Right.
Which, thank God you didn't.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, I wouldn't have made it.
You might be.
I wouldn't have made it.
Well, not when they started. No.
Yeah, my brain won't work that way. Here's all I remember about school. And, I'm not going to brag that it was a great education. It really wasn't. Our education system sucked back then, too. Just sucked in different ways.
Sucked.
All I remember about school is they taught us subjects. I don't remember any policies or politics or wokeness or I just don't remember any of that. You went to school, you had a class, you either did the homework and, passed the test and you got a grade, and that's all there was to it. I don't remember all this other crap.
I didn't have that because we had so many people in our high school because it became so overcrowded. We were in portable buildings, and they had a teacher, and all they did was basically babysit and issue you homework. So it didn't get into the minutia, at all. And I guess that was probably a godsend. And then, I was going to make a comment on negotiation. There was a real good book I listened to, Never Split the Difference.
Yeah, that's a great book.
And whenever you're negotiating, great book. He said to always, Paul was saying he asked, $1,200, asked for $1,200 more, and I guarantee he probably started at 13, and the guy hit him down to 12. But if he would, ask for $1,238, he said always add a
weird
odd number on the end.
Right.
Yeah, because then it looks like that's what
thought
you really need.
Right, you really put time and effort and calculated things. Right, exactly. Yeah, and
right.
And that number you pulled out of your ass just like you pull every other number out of your ass when you're negotiating.
Right.
Yeah, but here's the thing. You and I can have this conversation about negotiating and talk about books and strategies, but what do you do when the group you're trying to talk to keeps screaming at you, you can't negotiate with them?
Right.
How do I answer that? Of course you can. We do it every day.
That's why I wondered why you had them on. I guess you didn't really know. Now, the woman, I guess, I don't know what she was, the one that was organizing, or I don't know what her deal was. I didn't hear much from her at all, but
she was the one that said I was lucky. Lucky you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that really, I couldn't, you know what?
Lucky
I was about ready
you.
to go off on that.
I'm offending myself when I say it right now. It's so visceral for me because I remember sitting in the bankruptcy attorney's office and having the bankruptcy attorney tell me, there is no humanly way you're going to get out of this. Just file bankruptcy and be done with it. That's why we have those laws. You'll get a fresh start. And I kept looking at all these bills on the table going, but they loaned me money and I'm supposed to pay it back.
Right.
And I remember what a struggle it was.
4 years?
4 years I gave things up so I could pay them back, every penny of it. Nobody lost a dollar on me.
Right.
So when I hear lucky you.
That's not the mindset we have now.
Lucky you after 4 years of 20-hour days to try to get my sorry ass out of that mistake I made.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? But you know what? There's one good thing in that whole, there's more than one, but those people are our competition. So there's that.
You're right. That makes my day. You're right.
Right? Yeah. All right, man. That's all I have. Because I was getting hot, so I was getting really mad. I know. Oh, shut up.
I know. All right. Thanks for the call. Let's go to New Jersey. Tony, welcome.
Hey, Kevin, that was a really good space there. I don't know how you keep it in with your background, but you did a fairly good job there. It's absolutely fascinating that you mentioned the 7 habits. Now, before you hang up on me like David Owen did, because they lost a really good member there, not because of principle, but because of attitude. We missed habit number 5 on that one. Ever heard the...
Got to go back. Hold on. What's 5? Help me out here.
listening.
Oh,
listening.
You know, I even say every time I go through the habits, I said, this is the one I have the most trouble with, and I can't even remember it. Yeah, I know it's my problem.
Yes.
I know. I get it.
Hopefully right now, those people are downloading the app, listening to the conversation of the members. I want to say that I have several takes on it. One of the slogans that is coming out, I'm hearing the word kid gloves. Kid gloves, I think I know it's not your style, but I think that needs to be implemented here with these people, because there are topics on your side that I agree with, and topics on their side and I want them to know there are people that agree with them and agree wholeheartedly and still listen to you and agree with some of your.
I'm going to agree with you right
time.
now. I completely agree with you. Boxing gloves are the way to go. That's what you said, right?
Come on. They're not going to like that. Don't you always say that who is going to want to talk to somebody that's screaming and shouting?
Yes, I do. And I tried hard this time. I really did. I had notes in front of me. Don't interrupt them. Let them talk till they finish a point at least. And the one guy I just hate it when you can't get to a point. Because we'll talk all day and never. So I should probably stop doing this. Seriously. Because I'm not very good at it.
The other phrase that's coming to mind is silence is deafening. Ever heard that?
Yeah, I know. But when they make those crazy statements like you can't negotiate with somebody, I lose my mind. When they say,
I know, it's
when
though.
he, and I think I may have misinterpreted him, but it was the way he said it. When he said trucking was a cash cow, yeah, I'm not letting that statement go by. When I hear the statement, we're regulated more than any other industry. Yeah, sorry, not letting you tell that lie.
Yeah, you're passionate because you have an extreme background that they just don't have. They can't help themselves. And if they're listening to this, just forgive him, okay, please. And I'm so glad you got your story in. That was so important. They needed to hear that. And that is the reason why you are the way you are. But I know it's impossible to hold back, but you're going to have to try and find it, because we're missing the common ground. I think we do have places where we do agree here. You just need me to say it instead. I'm just kidding. But
I honestly, this group and even Noah, the way those conversations I don't know where there is common ground. Now, look, we could find common ground in the details. Bathroom access. But look, I don't want to go down that minutia, because I've been hearing that crap the whole time I've been in this industry, and it never, ever goes away. We could agree on those things.
The common ground is, but we both want everyone to do better. That's the common ground.
Well, I said that at the beginning. We can agree on the problem, but there's no common ground on the solution.
I think we do know that you want them to achieve higher success.
Yes.
They need to hear that.
I shout it all day, every day.
Yeah, they are hearing that right now. We do want them to succeed, but screaming at them that the government is not the answer, all this, they will. You have to help them find that out for them, convince themselves.
They never seem to, though.
Guide them.
I've been doing this for 30 years. I'm getting a little impatient.
Yeah, I know.
It's getting worse, not better. There's the other thing. If I actually saw progress, maybe I would do something different. But I can't even get to progress. It gets worse. There's more of these groups.
Yeah, I know. But
there's more protests.
It's just going to turn them off.
I don't know how to do it. But I hate that we also, as an industry, get this reputation of protesters. The trucks are visible. When they say, look, we have all this power, we can shut down the country. You're right. That's what scares me, is that you threaten to do it.
Right. But OK, here's the thing. All your examples and a lot of that stuff, the stuff about not having a choice. We know everyone that listens here knows what you think about everything. But this is high level even for me. For a person that's just starting out, I have my authority, and I operate out of Florida. When I hear it, I have a choice to deal with a broker. I understand where they're coming from by saying, no, I don't. it is high level to think like, yes, you do that. They can't even deal with it.
Well, let's say, I even tried to simplify
Give them a break on that.
I tried to simplify. I do give them a break. I tried to simplify it. Okay, maybe you can't negotiate with everybody, but there are brokers you can negotiate with. And when they make the absolute statement you can't, there is no common ground yet. None.
It is going to be really hard for them to figure that out.
How?
And it may be impossible.
How could it be hard? How could that be hard to understand? That there's 16,000 brokers. Call a different one.
It's pretty difficult because, like for me, I've had my authority 12 years, and I'm getting jerked around by a broker right now. Pretty much, but I'm choosing to do that.
So, right, and here's part of the education.
In that case, I am.
Here's part of the education.
I am.
I'm going to use a bunch of, phrases here. You strike when the iron is hot. You make hay when the sun shines. Some parts of business are timing and understanding when you have some negotiating power and when you may have less negotiating power. There, yes, there's high level. I get it. But you can't run a business on high level. There's tons of nuance here that nobody seems to understand. I don't mean nobody. The people who fight against
them on this, that we don't have a choice. I can understand where they're coming from. You kind of don't, but they do need to hear that. Yes, they do, but in a loving way with the kid gloves, and then they will figure it out. Okay, brokers are only a necessary evil for right now until I be like Matt, and find my own freight, and then the brokers are done.
So I'm going to try to be a better communicator. Let me give back to you what I think you just told me, so we can be in understanding here. You're telling me that the boxing gloves aren't working, so I should take them off and go bare knuckle street fighting. Is that what you said?
I don't even see how that's funny. No, because they'll be dead.
Look, I'm a little guy. I can't do that much damage.
Yeah, but this sarcasm comes off heavy-handed, and you say yourself all the time. They need to hear this too. You say all the time that nobody's gonna be receptive to that. I am, because I know your story. I know where you're coming from. I listen to everything you say.
Well, then you must have heard what I said, why I do this. This is going to sound really harsh. I don't care about any of the people I just had on the phone. Sorry. I don't know them. I don't care about them.
Oh, no. Well, I do.
I don't. But I care about my tribe. So I do this I don't even like doing this. I hate this. I will be pissed off the rest of the day. And I'm not, usually I can get things out of my mind easily, move on, get positive again. But these things rile me up way more than it should. Makes me crazy. And I don't like doing this. I do it because I do think there's a big group out there that I can educate better this way than me just coming on and trying to teach these lessons without having that counterpoint. It just seems to me like I'm talking and nobody's listening sometimes when I do that. But when I have somebody to argue against, I'm able to make points, and I hope people hear them and learn from them.
It's difficult to listen to. We know what you think about everything, and we know why, disagree or not, but a tribe like this over on their side is not going to be receptive to punching bags. But I'm glad that you got your story, and maybe they'll take a second look now.
Okay. I'll step away from the fists. Can we wrestle for it?
Yes, okay. We can. And why? Because that is your background, and you have so many stories about how wrestling relates to business. By the way, it's called Fail Better. There's a tennis player, Roger Federer's compatriot. He's got a tattoo. It says on his arm, "Fail Better."
I like
because
that.
You're approaching. It's got a tattoo. You can see it when he plays.
I like that.
You get better and better and better and better. He never got as good as Federer, but he's Stan the man.
Good saying. I like that one. All right, Tony, got to cut you loose. We've got a lot of people that want to make comments. Let's go to Mississippi. Mark, welcome.
Kevin, how do you say Audi in Korean?
I have no idea.
Hyundai.
There you go.
Let me get to my point. The point is that I sat here and thought about this, and I listened to that guy, and the guy comes across as that guy on Spaces Mac, who I absolutely have nothing in common with. I have nothing in common with that guy there. I don't want to be a part of an organization like that. I mean, let me tell you what these people are. These people are grifters. They see these people as somebody that needs help, and they use they make them, they use their emotions against them in that they make them feel like the man is getting over on them, the companies are getting over on them, and they're taking advantage of them because they're less educated. And all they're in it for is they're not in it to educate these people. They keep saying organize. They want more people because they want to make more money. It's all a grift with these people. That's not about helping people. They don't know how to help people. You help people. They don't know how to help people. I quite frankly, at this point, to understand why you try to reason with these people is almost like you're banging your head on the wall with some of these people, because it's the same thing over and over again. These people, they have their agenda. When you make a point to them, they start saying, well, they don't get to speak. They feel like, you're talking over me. You're talking over me. And it's like, they all say that. And it's like, let me finish. Well, they never finish because they don't even know how to get to the point. And
you know what?
It's like, they want to organize, and they just, go ahead.
Yeah, I think what's happening for me in the big picture of this is I feel like my America is disappearing, and I can't stand it.
Well, it is, but you just have to, here you said something back around the COVID time, which I just went ahead and followed, and it's kind of at this point right now. Worry about the things you can control, and the things you can't control and have no control over, you can't do anything with that. And too many people try to worry about the things they can't control, and it drives them insane. And these people try to worry about things they can't control instead of focusing on what they can control. And if you focus on what you can control and control that,
you know who I'd really like to hear from today?
He said we weren't.
So everybody who's called so far, I know you're all fairly regular callers. I know your business. I know your mindset. We've talked for years. I could predict what you and I will talk about over this because I know your beliefs like you know mine. We talk about them all the time. So I'm not doing you any good. I'm not doing me any good. I know I'm not going to change these other people's minds. I can't control them. It's obvious I can't get them to think differently. I keep saying...
They don't hear you because they don't listen.
Right. And I don't care that they don't listen because they're not my objective. Like I said, I don't even care about them. I don't know them. I can't care about them. Not specifically. So, but I keep thinking that I have listeners out there that have not learned all of these business lessons like everybody who's called me today. I know you guys know all this stuff. I know you get it. You do it every day. I keep thinking there's people out there that have not been exposed to these ideas. They have not been educated about business. And I could come on every day and open my show with a lesson, but I don't think that comes across well. So what I'd love to hear, maybe those people don't exist, and maybe I'm not helping them. Because honestly, I've never had somebody call me and say, boy, I really learned a lot about business during that debate. I would love to hear from somebody who maybe thinks about it differently. And honestly, if I knew that this wasn't helping anybody, I would stop in a heartbeat.
I want to share something with you. Over the weekend, I've had to TJ was talking about how insurance waited to the last minute to get back with him. Well, so did mine. And it was like, it wasn't because of my agent. It was because these underwriters just keep dragging their ass, and that's what they do. And they finally get back to you in the 5 minutes to go at the end of the term, and this, that, and the other. And I finally just had to go with Progressive because while they basically added $10,000 to my rate, I had an issue from 2 years ago where I basically got screwed. That'll drop off in next year, so I had to go with them. Well, my premium was going to be $20,000. For the liabilities, $20,700. Well, I could pay that at once. And if you go on payments with Progressive, while they're not a bank, their fee to finance it and tote the note along for a year was $4,000. And I'm like, I don't want to give these people $4,000. So Saturday I called Progressive and I'm like, hey, I want to pay you half now. Can I pay you the other half in 3 weeks? Oh, as long as you have it all paid by the 25th of next month. And I said, I can do that for $20,700. Yes. And so that's what I did. And it was like, kept thinking about how you talk about, the factoring, how people get screwed with factoring and all these payday loans and things like that. Well, that's kind of what this was. And it was like, I didn't want to give $4,000. I mean, I could have paid the cash right up, but I didn't want to pay the cash right up. So I paid it with a credit card. So I get the frequent flyer points, and then I'll just pay that and then come back the next month, and it'll push the payment out another 30 days. So whereas I can allow for other things, but it's about, and I guess that was a form of negotiation. And I guess the point is, it's like, there's always some shit in this business. There's always some shit. When you think everything's good, then something just pops up, and you have to expect that. And people act like they don't expect it. And you just, it's like Paul and I were talking the other day. You've been talking for 4 years. Save money, watch cut costs, and all like that. Yeah. And it's like, he said that when I told him that. He goes, like Kevin said, you got to save money and all like that. And I said, a lot of people, and these companies know it, they can't just come right out and pay that. So they'll tack these absurd fees onto certain things. And if they want to stay in business, well, they have to pay it. And I mean, I guess I was lucky. I don't know. I mean, I sat there and managed my cost to where I was able to save, $4,000, and we moved my physical damage over to my cargo policy and saved another $3,500. And I mean, I don't know. It's in reality, it never ends. There's always some shit.
Here's the thing I will say about business: it never gets easy. It never gets easy. In fact, if you start to grow a business, it will just continue to get harder.
Yeah, and it's like somehow, like TJ said that he was talking about his cargo insurance tripled.
Yeah,
it's out of the blue.
Yeah.
So it just.
We have created,
and these things hit you, and it's fine.
We can bring almost every problem we all want to complain about down to two things. We have created an entitlement mentality, and we have completely given up on personal responsibility.
Yeah, nobody has personal responsibility. I mean, I had an issue this morning dropping off rental cars with with a rental car company with this lazy employees, and he moved stuff around. Some stuff ended up with damage on it. I don't know. He didn't have it before. They didn't want to sign for it. And we spent an hour going round and round. And finally, I just put on there, okay, you're refusing to sign. I'm putting down there, these were inspected. I'll note this, put my first on there, and I'll put down that you refuse to sign. And it pissed her off. And I called our customer and told her, and she goes, you did exactly the right thing. And it's like, because they were just, and it's like, but I let my customer know that this is what happened, and I was honest, and I said I documented everything, and I took pictures, and this is where we are, but I let the customer know, because we've got to, you got to stay in the good graces with your customer, and you got to let them know everything that happens out here.
Here's another piece that goes along with this. I don't know who they are or how they did this, but something happened, and here's what it is. So there's an entitlement mentality. There's a total lack of personal responsibility for much of anything. And not everybody, obviously, but it's starting to feel like the majority. And then there's something else going on, and you could hear this over and over in that call from almost all of them. Something that's called learned helplessness. That's what I heard in their voices. I can't negotiate. I can't get them to do this. All I kept hearing was can't. It is learned helplessness.
I hate when somebody says they can't do it. I've told people before when I'm dealing with, dropping a car off or whatever, and they say, we can't do that. I look at them and say, don't tell me you can't do something. I've told them that before. I said, don't tell me you can't. You can always do something.
The woman, when I kept giving her another option, well, you could go do this. You could go do this. And then finally she said, but that's hard and I don't want to. You are right. It's the first intelligent statement you made. You don't want to. It's not that you can't, you won't. So start using the proper word. From now on, I want you to say, I won't do that.
I told people don't want to change. I've changed so many times in this business. It's like, if things don't seem right, it's like you got to make a change. And people don't want to change. They will sit on a sinking ship and try to put the fire out until it goes to the bottom of the ocean, still burning, but they won't change and get off the damn ship. It's like they don't change. People are scared to change. They're stubborn for whatever. It's in everything. It's not just in this industry. It's in every industry.
It's our
in
whole
every walk of
right.
life.
It's our whole country.
People won't change how they eat. You can tell them, look, give up sugar, grains, and seed oils. What do? They eat more of it. And it's like you can point to it. It's like this causes cancer, this, that. And it's like, but it's like there's always an excuse. They will not change. I can't give this up. I can't do this. Well, whatever. Then go down with the ship. I mean, you can't help everybody, and nor do you want to. The culling of the herd.
Yeah, it's about to happen. It's going to be a big one this time. But we've seen this coming for how long? We knew this was coming. We knew it was going to be a bad one. We knew all of this was happening. We tried telling them then.
People saw all these high rates.
How many people did I say getting into the market at the top is a really bad idea? How many times have you heard me say that?
Over and over and over. It's like, you but then again, people don't understand. They don't manage their funds. They don't have accounting. They don't know what. It's like they get into business for the sake of, because they're in love with the idea of being in business. It's not about being in business. I mean, it's like they're in love with the idea of being in business. That's how they sell all these lease purchase programs. They sell them to the idea of being in business. It's not about how to be, and it's not about how to manage yourself and all like that. I got tired of dealing with corporate bullshit. Is how I ended up been working for myself. And I mean, just absolutely tired. I mean, I've told you before, I actually lived the movie Office Space. I hated that. And it's like, I didn't want to go back to that crap. And, this was, I just didn't know about how to get into this. So I just lucked. Lucked. Well, it wasn't luck. It's like,
exactly.
I made hard decisions here and there.
Correct.
And it's like, it's like, okay, I can do this. This will get me to here and this will get me to there. And sooner or later, you just try things, and it's almost like sometimes you throw things to see if it sticks on the wall, and then you run into good people like Paul and you and other people along the way, and then you just always try to learn from people who know a whole lot of hell. It's like when I failed on the mountain, I called Vinny Tortorich. I said, I know he's done that. I called him and paid him a lot of money for a couple hours to talk to him. How do I do this? What do I do? Tell me what to do. And it's like I did everything because it's like I found some people that I know that knows more about something than I know about, and I listen to them. Because that's the only way to learn is to find somebody that knows, hire people that know more about something than you do. Don't try to assume that you know everything. I mean, people get out here and trucking. Oh, I drove a truck for 25 years. I can do this. No, you drove a truck. You didn't run a business. The lady said she had 3 degrees. I got 2 degrees. I learned everything from the school of hard knocks out here. It was like, I learned everything. I mean, you've got certificates, which are like degrees, but I mean, you go out there and you take a course and you pass a course and you learn everything. And it's like, I read all these books on health and you're not a doctor. You're correct. I'm not a doctor, but I read a doctor's book. This is what he said.
Yeah.
And this is what he learned. And it's like, it's just, the learning process never ends. And it's just, but some of these people think that they'll come out here and it's owed to them and then it's easy, but it's not easy because it's like you have to go out and do it.
Let me comment on that statement you just made. For me, and you obviously, the learning process never ends. You're right. I mean, every day I wake up, what can I learn new today? And I always have it in the back of my mind. What am I wrong about that I don't know yet? What am I saying that I'm wrong about? And someday I'm going to figure out I'm wrong. I try to foresee those things. But it seems like for a lot of these groups, the learning process never started.
That is correct. Because I don't think they understand how to learn.
We weren't taught how to learn. I will blame that on our schools. They do not teach us how to learn. And unfortunately, for many of us, our parents don't know how, so they can't teach us. Some of us, I get lucky. I don't know. And yeah, I do too. I am almost self-taught in everything I do.
It takes an amount of curiosity to like figure out if there's a better way. I'm always looking for a better way. It's like, is there a better way to do this? Is there a better way? Is there a way to improve? Is there a way to make things more quality? I mean, I've been exposed to the quality process a lot along the way, but
we're going to put 2 rules on business now. We're going to make it really complicated. First rule is serve your customer. That one's pretty simple. Second rule is always be looking for better ways to serve your customer.
Yes.
And that's what you're talking about. There's a better way. There's a more effective way. There's a way that will bring more value to and that should be our whole focus. And unfortunately, these groups I fight with never got to rule 1. They act like there are no customers in this industry. When you try to educate them on who their customer is, you heard them. They laughed at me.
Yeah.
They laughed.
Yep, they did. Yep, they did because they don't understand.
Yeah. They don't understand how powerful that thought is. It changes everything.
Yeah.
When you wake up with a focus to serve, look, that's business. But I could also say it's a damn good way to go through life, whether you're in business or not. And if you are in business, you still have a personal life. I'm always looking for a way to serve because I'm selfish. I find the more I serve other people, the better my life becomes. I'm not doing it for them. It's the beauty of how our world evolved somehow. We get to be really selfish. Yeah. And by being selfish, if you learn, you serve others to get what you want. So it might be a selfish motive, but it works. Everybody benefits.
Yes. And they it's like they don't, I don't know, they're lost. That's...
I guess I get so upset because I feel like
these people come
this
along.
is happening to our whole country.
Well, it is.
That's why I get so upset about
it's going to continue.
Yeah.
But again, you have to worry about the things you can control and not control the things you can't control.
You're right. I have to remind myself sometimes of my own lessons.
Yeah.
All right, Mark, good stuff. Thanks for the call. Nobody else. Oh, you know what? They can't call because our phone lines are turned off. Terrence, you get the final word today. We have time. We're not in, no hurry. But we turned off the phone lines because we had to get through all those calls before 11.
So listen, I don't know if you caught it or heard it. Did you hear where they were going to have the meeting at? At a union hall.
Oh yeah, I know.
Now listen. I'm confused because let me tell you something. The only reason the union would let them do that, come in an outside non-union group, come in and use your hall. There's only one motive for that.
Right, of course.
And that's to unionize.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, I've heard that. I'm like,
oh, wait a minute. He was clear about unionizing owner-operators and small carriers. That's his goal.
Yeah, but then again, like I said, you go back to you know what the outcome is going to be. Look at it happened with the car carriers. I can name a half a dozen places that were owner operators with 2 check systems, and it didn't work. It worked, but then eventually.
And
like you said, I don't need someone negotiating for me.
And I did not get into business to be somebody's employee. So the 2-check system to me is awful.
Yeah.
I have all the risk of a business owner, but I get treated every day like an employee. How I just can't imagine trying to work like that.
Oh, but that's the woman too. She know what it is. And again, I was leased to a carrier, and I knew what my rate was, and if they, like, say to you, when you get to a terminal, can you move this trailer? No problem. What are you going to pay me? You drop it. Yeah, you can negotiate. They just signed that contract and were like, well, this is all I'm going to do, and they don't want to change or look for anything better, is what it was. She just she said it, and then you're going to complain about it.
You know how I feel about anybody having to show any rate to another business. That just is a non-starter for me. It will never work. I'll never agree with that. But it was even worse than that. The idea that if you're leased to a carrier on a mileage contract, you still have the right to see the rate. No, you don't. I'm sorry. On a mileage contract, you don't have that right because you don't need it. What they're getting paid has nothing to do with anything because they've told you we're paying you this no matter what the load pays.
Yeah.
It's not based on what the load pays, so you don't have any right to see what the load pays.
God, I don't know. It seems to me like that was more. I think that guy's just trying to, get everyone unionized or whatever, organized, and then they're going to swoop in there with a union. That's what it seemed like to me.
So
I'll let you go.
The comments earlier, it really got me thinking. Maybe these groups. Maybe this really isn't about helping people. Maybe it is just about power.
No. That's what it seems like because they want it. And here what it is. You know what it is? I get it. People, like, you help people. But like you just said, you get reward. You
I get
enjoy
paid
it,
well
but it
to do
also brings you. Right.
I get paid really well to do it.
There's people trying. Yeah.
I've never tried to hide
trying to get that grab. No.
Yeah.
And so you should, for the amount of work you do and the resources you bring. But like I said, you take the other one, Noah, and all that. They just. It seems like they're trying to help. They may tell themselves that, but there's got to be another thing to this. It can't be just they're just trying to help someone. There's something else to it.
When he said this, I thought about the line from a song. Oh, I think it's Bruce Springsteen. A poor man wants to get rich. A rich man wants to be king. And a king ain't satisfied until he rules everything.
Everything, yep.
So it's even like our drive for money for a lot of people isn't really about the money itself. It's about the power the money brings.
Yeah. And then you got to deal with a lot of stuff with that.
Yeah. I think he's onto something.
Go enjoy that property if you're home. Go out and take a look at that brook in the backyard. Maybe that'll give you some solace.
I do have to. I do have to go make sure the ladies got the door opened and the ladies got out of their coop.
Did you go have the chance to go with them and walk the farm with them this weekend?
Yeah, we did it on.
Remember them going to show you everything?
Yeah, we closed Friday morning. We went out and did a walk around Friday afternoon, and they were on their road to Coeur d'Alene, and we now own a farm.
Also, but they told you everything about it? You got to know, like they showed you where everything worked and all that? Or?
Yes and no. I mean, some of this stuff is like this guy hand built so much of this stuff. Like I still have to figure out how this coop door opens and closes and changes the water every day automatically, and it uses no power to do it.
Sounds like gravity fed or something.
Well, it's like those windows that he's got in the greenhouse. These struts use beeswax and metal shavings, and it reacts to the temperature. Well, that works because that's the whole point of a greenhouse. You have to manage the temperature. But this door system, I think, has something to do with water and barometric pressure, because we want it to open when the sun comes up and close when the sun's going down.
Oh, yeah.
So it's,
right.
I don't know. I got to learn how this thing works. And Lisa kept saying, why don't you just have him explain it all to you? And my brain doesn't work that way. If he explains it all to me, and then he explains the whole irrigation system on the entire property, and then the electrical, when he's done, I will forget all three of them, and I'll have to call him again. But if I say, here's something, and I have to figure out how this works. Once I figure it out, I will never forget it.
There you go.
So it's just how I have to do it.
Right.
Now, I got to a point yesterday on the electrical system. I spent hours and hours and hours on it, and there was one set of lights I could not figure out how to turn on. And it was because the switch was inside the garage, hidden behind there was a fuel can there. And I missed that switch. That was and I had to text him, where's the light for the driveway? But I figured the rest of it out. So then I started on the irrigation system, and I'll get that figured out because it's very custom. Then I got to work on the greenhouse and the chicken coop, but this is just how I have to do it. He could tell me over and over and over, and I'll forget.
There you go. Well, good luck with it, Kev.
All right.
I'll let you get going.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Later.
Good stuff. That's going to take us right to the top of the hour. We are going to wrap this up for today. As long as technology agrees with us this week and nothing comes up, it should be a full week of shows. I was not planning on taking off Friday. I know I said last week that I might be taking off some Mondays and Fridays in the fall because our schedule's just getting crazy. I'm going to be on the road. Now it looks like I'll be traveling by myself, so that's always more work. But I plan on working most days. Friday, I absolutely planned on working. I had a big show lined up, and technology just did not want to cooperate. And we're without a backup right now. So this week, unless something changes, I believe I'll be doing all my shows in all my spaces. It could change, though, because our world's a little erratic right now with a lot of stuff going on. So I'll keep you informed. We'll see you back here tomorrow for the Power Hour. Be safe, be profitable, be fit and healthy. Always do the hard work and master the journey.